often do.
Yeah.
Way she goes.
I was
Yeah.
catching Mike up with some of the comments that have shared already in the world about the Light and Magic docu-series on Disney Plus.
Okay, so this has been sitting on my chest all day.
I didn't watch it yet, but I don't care. I'm not worried about you spoiling it for me. So just
Oh, there's no way we can spoil it for you. It's
Okay.
impossible.
Okay.
All I have to say is the fact that, because I read that whole article and I've seen the first 2 episodes. It has been fantastically put together. Well, I don't know. The whole thing is just I think it's very well put together and very insightful. I don't understand some of the criticisms. It's like, oh, there's too much Star Wars. Well, the company was built because of Star Wars. Wow, who'd have thunk this thing that was built for this other thing is too focused on the thing it was designed for?
I do wonder if like a lot of people will say, hey girl, a lot of people, like a lot of Star Wars fans will say, well, yeah, that's based on Star Wars and that's connected to Star Wars. And we've been doing it for years. The people that are new or like on the borders of Star Wars fans, I think they don't realize how much Lucasfilm and all of its companies have affected the modern everything. Like, I don't want to get into a Marvel DC discussion, but Industrial Light and Magic special effects compared to a DC special effects, I'm sorry, there's no real comparison. I mean,
Yeah. Well, there's a comparison, but it's not a favorable one,
right.
really.
It's not really, it doesn't really fit our narrative to,
Yeah.
I think most DC special effects end with, we'll just darken it up, they won't notice.
Except for in the Joss Whedon Justice League. It's brighten everything up and make it look worse.
Oh yeah. Well, that's but no, so this, you have not been a member of 501st since, or last week you were a member.
Mm-hmm.
John. Okay. So and because I was thinking, I heard you guys talking about the costuming groups. I was listening to your episodes on the Best Car Bucket. And then an article about being elitist and all this kind of stuff. And it reminded me of two things. I don't have another cousin somewhere, so it doesn't remind me of that. But no, it reminded me of especially when people get perceived for costume stuff, so, and I agreed. I think one of you were saying, like, if someone doesn't ask your opinion on your costume, then you shouldn't give it and all that kind of stuff. And well, it reminded me of Steel City. There was a kid that comes to Steel City. I was trying to look through his name because he used to do a little YouTube channel. He's probably like 18 or 19 now, but he was a young kid when I used to go there a lot. And he always dressed a homemade costume of somebody. And I remember you saying having all that stuff that people can't touch, which is ridiculous. I 100% agree with that totally. But I remember there was someone there that had a Kylo helmet, a really nice Kylo helmet. And I forget the person even, and they let the kid put the Kylo helmet on. They picked it up, and it was so nice that he got to put it on, and we took pictures of him with it on and stuff like that. And that's what we do. And the other story is there were some guys that showed up in a stormtrooper suit that he bought on eBay from, it wasn't the best, and it was all put together with rivets, right? Two of the guys, unfortunately, they're not in the Legion anymore. They took him back into our changing room, helped him take the armor apart, and fixed it as best they could in about 2 hours' time. Because
at the show,
they pulled him back with their own stuff, their own glue, their own, and the kid was so happy, and that's what all the costuming groups should be about. I mean, I agree with standards, and I agree with, like, to a point, but what I noticed it the most is when a Novos hit, because before a Novos hit, in order to join, you kind of had to, like, you almost had to know the secret password to get to where, where to find stuff. Like if you wanted stormtrooper armor, it was a little harder to find. You had a choice of rubies, or you didn't know where to go. You know what I mean? Like you kind of had to. And then when a Novos hit and that armor was really nice, a lot of people started joining, and they didn't need people's help. They just, hey, here's a picture of my armor, let me in, And I think a lot of the people that wanted it to be exclusive weren't happy with that, which I never really liked.
Well, so what you just said reminds me, or makes me think of two things. Number one, back to the story about the folks who helped the guy with his riveted costume. Those stories happen all over the world, all over the United States, all over the world, because some of the folks who are in these costume clubs care that much about it and are willing to help out that they do it. However, those stories don't get shared.
Right.
Those stories don't get broadcast and whispered down the lane. It's kind of like with the negative criticism of Star Wars. The stories get loud and louder and louder. And you hear about the people who act the leader. You hear about the disrespectful, rude Legion member who turned somebody off or said something that was taken poorly or was said poorly.
Right.
So we, as members of the groups, need to lift up those stories where we know that members of the groups have done amazing things to help other folks.
Well, and I've seen Ken in action at the table, and Ken's you're a good person to get people, into the groups. Unfortunately, a lot of the time, table duty winds up falling on the people who aren't the best to work with people.
That's the weird reality. Yeah, that's for sure.
I mean, it's usually, and I'm not knocking the people to do table duty. It's a thankless job, but a lot of times they're not socially equipped to talk to people in a positive way, because either they were just in costume for 4 hours and they're dead tired, or they were there early in the morning and set up and don't know how. They just, like, I prefer to interact in a costume personally. But I will gladly talk all day with someone and try to, show them the positive things of this. But when I'm at an event, most of the time I'd rather be in costume.
Yeah, so so it's funny. There's those 4 different roles at events. There's the table duty. There's the handler. There's the costume person, and then there's the photographer.
Oh yeah.
I love the last 3. I have yet to serve as the table duty dude or table dudette. Like, I have yet to do that part of it, because especially at these events, I'm so amped up. I'm so excited. I can't be seated behind this little table that separates me from the world. I need to be shoulder to shoulder, hand to hand. Let's get in there somehow and make today special for you.
Well, and that's why I like the Mando's display, especially like the Pennsylvania one, in which I know they rarely have a table, or they'll have a table off to the side. Like, that's what I like about their display, because there is not that barrier. Like, you can walk in and you can touch everything. You can get put in jail. You can pick up blasters. You can go in the tent and look at all the little gizmos and stuff. And I think that makes a difference.
Yeah, we want to bring people into it. We want, whether it's long enough to get a 3-second photograph in it, or to ask the questions of how in the wild world of sports did you make this?
Yep.
And that leads to that. Well, here's our card, and here's some information about the next time we're going to get together to build these things. And hey Mike, come over here and tell them about your resin cast helmet, or John, show us your lightsaber that you have that special shroud on that makes it look like it's sparkly glowy. Yeah, we need to lift those folks up into places of attention. And I know that John had recently reached out to the Odd Viking in an effort to get him to be on our show, and I think we need more voices like that
Mm-hmm.
who celebrate this stuff, who have this true desire to help people and encourage people and to include people, and do what we can to minimize the chatter around the folks that give all of these groups a bad name, or as the Odd Viking said, the bad apples that spoil the
Right.
barrel.
Well, see, we used to do a panel at Steel City, um, um, in the main hall, and it was, it was an intro to 500 First. We all stood up front, and so they asked me the first time I was at Steel City. Said, "Hey, you and the girls want?" I was like, "Sure." So I stood up and listened to them, and then afterwards, I said to them, "We have to change how we do that, because it would start out good, and then all of a sudden it turned into, I spent $6,000 on Darth Vader. It's going to cost you $6,000." And it just started throwing this money out, which I don't care how much you spend on our costumes. First off, we try not to think about that. But secondly, like when you start throwing these big numbers out of context, and most of the time people inflate the numbers. I'm sorry, like it's they then it becomes exclusionary. Because if me and Missy were sitting in a panel before I was in, and someone started talking about a $6,000 Darth Vader costume, it would have probably turned me off. But she would have been like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, we're out.
Yeah.
You lost me at 6,000.
And guys are like, "Well, my stormtrooper cost 3,500." I'm like, and I'm standing in my, FX kit, getting as many pictures as them, and I'm like, "That didn't really cost you that much, buddy. I don't know what you're," but it became exclusionary. I felt like it was being used to look at, it was getting used by certain people. Well, look how good I am, but I don't think you can afford this. And so I said, "Hey, we should really take the money part out of it, because a hobby is never a financially good investment. I don't care what your hobby is. If you're a sports fan and you're buying a sports jersey, you've already broken all the rules of good finance, So, I mean, but I'm just saying we don't do hobbies for that reason.
Yep, and that's just one particular costume, but that doesn't mean that everybody wants to have the costume that you're talking about that costs $6,000.
Well, and they also don't mention, well, I ordered these rockers that were the original ones used, I mean.
Yeah. I never understood how the costuming groups turned into such a metaphorical dick measuring contest, so to speak.
Oh yeah.
Like, I don't get it. Like, yeah, I mean, it's not a cheap hobby at all, but you do it because it's enjoyable, and you can make it affordable. I mean, Mike, like you always say, there's three things. It can either be, what is it, affordable?
Time, money, and skill.
Right.
And you trade them all off, So if you have a job where you can work extra time, get some overtime, you pay someone to do your sewing. If you know how to sew, you save, but I don't think it's become that. I think it's like anything else. And it comes back to my whole silo metaphor. Certain people want to be at the top of the silo. Like when I used to run the paintball field, we lived in the paintball world. Like my house was piled with paintball guns, and we, that's all I did. Like 6 days a week, I did paintball. I ran a field, this and that. And you'd be having a good old time, and then some guy's like, "Oh, look, here's my, $1,500 angel that I got worked on by Dave Youngblood," and he blah 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, he wants to be on top of the heap, and I'm shooting a $200 Tippmann, So
it's hard for me to imagine that a charity group has become so elitist and so exclusionary.
Well, I don't think the group has, and I will say this. I sometimes think we get a little full of ourselves when we call it a charity group. We're costumers that do charity. And there's a big difference, because I say to most people, which did you join for? The costume or the charity? Now, the charity helps you justify having your costume, and it makes it a more realistic thing. But I wanted to build a stormtrooper costume. I didn't know that when charity got involved, it made it better, and I'm glad I do it. But we are costumers that do charity. We're not a charity group that wears costumes. And is it that I think sometimes our words we use our words to kind of circumvent what's really happening.
Oh yeah, and with that idea of the elitism or the look at me kind of attitude with it, it just adds more to it. Like, oh, last weekend I was at an event that helped raise $700 for, the three-legged turtles of America
Right. It
society.
was at that one. No.
Yeah.
Well, I'll never talk money we raise because I wrote a whole piece when I was running for office that I don't think you measure true charity by money. Like the money we raise is important and this and that, but overall we do way more good that is measured by money. When you do a library event in nowhere somewhere town that kids can't get out, because I teach where I teach, there's a town 15 miles away. I have students that have never been to that town. I have students that have never been to a movie theater. So like, and this is, we're not in, we're like 45 minutes out of Baltimore. We're not out in the sticks or anything, you know. And so when we do an event for those people, or when you and I, Ken, were in Philly, there were people taking those pictures. Some of those people probably took their kid to a Comic-Con and spent more than they really wanted to, and those pictures made them even happier because they could do that for their kids and still not put a financial strain on their trip.
You bet. And so one of the most surreal experiences I ever had was interacting with a family who had been at an event that I was at a few months before, and they went to show me a picture on their phone of something else. And when they did their unlock screen, the picture of me and their family was on their home screen. And the little boy, because he only saw me as Ken, he didn't see me as Kenix. When the dad told the kid that was me, his jaw dropped. Like, I remember that was so cool. And that's the kind of stuff, to your point, Mike, about the charity, that's the kind of stuff that has the potential to mean more than the dollars and the cents. Either the dollars and the cents you invested in your costume or the dollars and cents that you claim you raised for charity XYZ.
Well, and most of the charity money raised, if you took the costuming groups out of it, the number probably wouldn't change. Like we've done the Penn State Dance-a-thon where they raise money for cancer or something like that, and the 501st has a dancing spot in there. I guarantee you, if none of our guys showed up, there wouldn't be a dip in the amount of money. You know what I mean? Like, it's nice that we're part of it, but I think sometimes we get too fixated on that, that dollar. That's just me. I mean, I don't know. I get frustrated with that money part because I think that's what starts to push you down that, because then people think, well, look, I'm in a group that raised this much money. Your group only raised this much money, so my group is better, and we've had it back and forth. Now, overall, I think the groups have leveled out. I mean, I still think there's some bad actors in them, but I think overall, if you took wherever you work and figure out what percentage of dickheads and fools that you work with, I guarantee the percentage of dickhead and fools in your costuming group is probably smaller. Does that make sense?
Logically it makes sense, but I don't know if the math is right.
I think of all the people I work with, and percentage wise, if I think of the people that just rub me the wrong way, there's less in the costuming group.
Yeah, because it goes back to kind of the inspiration that you were talking about for why you got into this in the first place. I think there are far more people that got into it because they wanted to do good, they wanted to share, they wanted to display than there are the cocky jerks.
Yeah,
as
sometimes
Han Solo would say.
They have the loudest microphone.
Yeah, or they get the loudest reaction. I mean, there was that one post that John had shared with us about the person asking, why would anybody join one of these costume clubs? And when you read through the comments, it was like walking through a landmine littered with cow pies. You didn't know what kind of crap you were going to step into.
Yeah.
And I think those horror stories, those stories of the rude person, the story of the costume club member who said something bad about somebody's costume were were large and in charge. But I think, like I said, I think the three of us and other folks who are in these costuming clubs need to share more of those stories where we know that there are great people out there doing great things.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, and yeah, I mean, and the costuming groups aren't for everybody. I mean, I still think they focus your efforts. I do like that part. You know, I need focusing.
yeah, and I mean, even to go back to the post that I had sent you guys, I saw one today that was totally unrelated that just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Where you know how Facebook they'll only show you like when you're on the desktop version, it'll only show you like one or two like relevant comments.
Yeah,
Um, same forum or same like Facebook group. Some guy was asking like, where's the best place to get like an Imperial officer uniform? It doesn't have to be 501st quality, but obviously like I don't want like a t-shirt and pajama pants.
right.
The only there was 15 comments. The only comment that Facebook had chose to display was just "fuck the 501st." That was it.
Yeah,
It was like totally unrelated, not helpful at all. Just I don't
But
know.
that's the one that the algorithm displayed.
Right.
Well,
And that just kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
and I think the other thing is, you do have critics of that have criticisms of the main groups. You know, someone was a jerk and stuff. But then you do have a chunk of critics that are people that just don't want to listen to anyone. You know, like they just I like because if you it doesn't cost that much more to make a costume right. And I think some people just don't want direction. You know, and that's where I like the like for years they tried to get the costume groups to kind of merge into one, and it never seems to kind of work out because I know like the Mando Mercs, they have a whole different structure of hierarchy than the other groups. The droid builders have no structure whatsoever. Like they have no, they're just you're just in a droid builder and they're like, hey, just show up and we'll see what happens. And the Rebel Legion and the 501st have a slightly different structure, but what I like about the difference of the groups is the 501st members they are picky about their costumes. Now you don't have to be a jerk about it. You can but they're it's the equivalent of like if you go to a street rod show. There's the guys who have the all original Camaro with it has the right engine, and then you have the other guy who, well, it's a Chevy 350 I got out of my mom's station wagon. And I threw it in this old, still looks good, sounds good, but because we had a group here that in Pennsylvania that was like anti 501st, and it was almost all members that were not into 501st for whatever reason. But it was basically a group built on anger towards the 501st. I don't know how far a group can go when that's your mission statement. We're all disgruntled 501st members.
Well, in that case, are they members? Or are they wannabe members?
Well, some were members. Like, and we've had issues in just the size of the group. You've had issues where people get kicked out for relative some stupid stuff and some stuff relatively, like not
legit.
Yeah, like just misconduct that they just don't want people in that group, and some people are just like, well, they don't tell the whole story, so I think that's sometimes why the 501st and the Rebel Legion and Mando Mercs get a little bit of heat, because you have so many people that are treated poorly by a few, but you also have people that are kicked out or whatever for whatever reason. Now,
I go back to your comparison to work. I mean, there are people who get fired from jobs because of their behavior.
Yeah,
they might know how to do the job. They might be the best person to do that job,
yep.
And they've done something inappropriate. They've stolen. Right. They've sexually harassed somebody. They've lied, broke a law, whatever, and they got fired from the job. And the same is true with these costuming clubs. They may have behaved in a way that was so inappropriate that, yeah, your costume, perfect. You as a person, you got to go because your behavior doesn't match.
And the groups tend to stay quiet about like why, because they don't want to drag someone through the mud, and they also just don't need the hassle because it's a volunteer group. when it
Yep.
all boils down to it. You're like, I don't feel like worrying about that.
So oftentimes when somebody asks me, you know, which costume club should they join, or if they should join one at all, there are two questions that I usually ask them. The first question I ask, what do you want to do with your costume? Like, if you want to be able to wear your costume to a Lucasfilm event, then yeah, you've got to join one of these Lucasfilm related
Yep.
groups.
Yep.
If you want to just get assistance on building the best possible costume, you can still join these groups without getting approved. You can, like, for instance, the Mando Mercs, I'll talk about them because I've been involved with them for several years. You can join the forums. You can go to the armor parties. You can talk to members and get assistance with your costume. And your costume may never, ever get approved because of the kind of costume it is.
Yep.
So you might want to have a Beauty and the Beast Belle mashup with the Mandalorian, where you're wearing this yellow frilly dress and a yellow armor and all that. It will never get approved through the Mando Mercs, and we can still help you make that the best costume ever.
Yeah.
And you can still be an unofficial member of the Mercs. You just can't wear that costume to a Lucasfilm event.
Well, and that's why I wonder if sometimes the approval process needs to be slightly more friendly. Because I often wonder, because I know, Ken, you submitted yours a couple times for Mando Mercs, and I've heard the story from the 501st, and even with John's costume, you know, that's for some people, that's their, like, it's exciting to maybe get in, and maybe they need to work on, first off, speed, and I don't want to say lower the standards, but have an entry level standard that helps people, because once you're in, you're going to improve things and make things better.
Well, actually, it's funny that you say that, because the Mercs does have that right now.
Yeah.
So you have just your generic general approval of a costume. And then you have other tiers in which you can be approved based on the kind of costume that you have. We call them brigades.
Mm-hmm.
So you could just get in as a generic Mandalorian. And then after you're approved, depending on the kind of costume that you've built or the kind of accessories that you carry or the weapons that you carry, you could be in the medic brigade, or you could be in the heavy armor brigade, or a splicer brigade, which is where you have equipment on you that allows you to hack into computers and take over droids and stuff. So there are varying levels of approval. A lot of folks don't know about the brigade status. They just know about that approval or not approved, or approved or not approved.
That's what the 501st has, but I think they need to. I think there needs to be a level of training, maybe is the best word. And maybe it's just because I'm a teacher, but you don't, not everything has to be like mean, you know, like, or not that we're all little babies, but you know, you're putting yourself out there. Like, there's people that have either spent a lot of time, money, or both on a costume. And I don't know. I think communication. We live in a world where we can have instant communication, and it seems like that's the one thing it seems like they drag off. Like, to me, if you submit a costume, I know it's volunteer and this and that, but if you submit a costume, they should get back to you as quickly as they possibly can. To me,
well, at the very least, to get back and say, hey, we've received your application. We're going to take this much time to review it.
Yeah,
you know, so somebody will get.
Yeah,
somebody will get back to you within this window or whatever. And I think
you get an email like every other day, like, we're still looking at, you know, I don't know. John has more experience with being new to it, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't hear anything. So I submitted my costume on a Monday. I didn't hear anything past the initial, like, hey, got your application, we're looking at it, we'll get back to you. Past
Did they tell you when they'd get back to you? Was that in the...
It was the phrasing used was generally 1 to 3 weeks, but could be longer.
Okay, so at least there was that.
Yeah,
right.
That's good. That's not bad.
One thing I find interesting, back to what you're saying, like, about this idea of helping people communicate. You can be the best sewer. You can be the best shaper, you can be the best 3D printer and painter. That does not mean that you are great at communicating. That does not
Correct.
mean that you're great at the people skills. And so
Yep.
I think if folks choose to be in these positions, whether it's on the approval team or leadership team, there needs to be, as silly as this sounds, I understand that we're talking about volunteers.
Right.
There should be a conversation with those people who choose to step into these roles. Hey, we're going to help you in terms of dealing with people, because you're not, even though you're looking at costumes, ultimately you're going to have to communicate with people to either let them know what's great about their costume and that they are approved, or most likely you're going to need to be able to communicate with people, letting them know what isn't up to standards and how they can fix it.
Right.
Because simply saying something like your weathering needs to be consistent is not clear enough to help anybody.
I always love those. I always love those when I see those weathering not consistent. I was like, oh. Anyway, John, so you heard, but then how long did till you heard back?
Actually, I will give you timestamps here.
Oh, okay.
I think I still have everything saved. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I submitted everything Sunday at 10 o'clock. So essentially Monday.
Yeah.
I got the initial like, hey, got everything at Tuesday at 7 a.m. Then that was June 28th. Yeah. So June 28th was the hey, got everything, and then a little aside asking about the costume itself took place between July 6th and July 7th. Then I got approved on July 17th. So over just shy of 3 weeks, give or take.
Oh, you're like a speed racer with your approval.
Yeah. But it's still, that's still a long time. You know.
Well, in our instant gratification world, yes.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm very curious. I'm wondering if E-Girl or Arc 77 have had what kind of interactions they've had with the Star Wars costumers, and if they've had these positive stories like we've been talking about, or if they've come across some of the bad apple actors that we've also mentioned.
Well, I have seen at Steel City, and I even saw a little bit of Keystone. You have a group of people that run right to us in the costuming area. But if you at Steel City, sometimes you can almost see people avoiding the costuming groups when they're in costume, especially on a Sunday at Steel City. It's almost like, when there's something in the water and people swim around it, it's like a school of fish. And then you just see they skirt they'll take the wide, stance. Because like when John and I were there, we didn't give a shit who was in what. Like I said, we picked up a Boba Fett. That's still my favorite story. I turn around, we're taking pictures, and I was like, oh shit, there's a Boba Fett with us. He just came along for the ride.
Yeah, nothing was said. We didn't ask. Nobody was like, hey, do you want to come along with us? It was just, all right, cool. We got a Boba Fett behind us.
Yeah, because I think it started with like 000 and the Mandalorian. Then we picked up Marty.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, we got a picture with that Boba Fett, and then like later, I'm like, wait, he's with us. It was so cool.
It was like 20 minutes later. We're still taking pictures, and I just look over because I think the lineup was me, 000, Chewbacca, and then Boba Fett.
Yeah,
and I just look over past Marty, and I'm like, oh, that Boba Fett's still with us.
And see, I think that's one of the differentiators between folks who build a costume to show it and be involved and active with people, and folks who build a costume because they want to be in one of these groups. Sometimes they get into one of these groups and they go to the booth because they expect people are going to go to them. Oh, you're here. You're coming to this convention. You're coming to this event because you want to see me.
Yeah.
Out of all of the stuff here, I know you're going to come and see me in this costume, whether it's a plain TK, a screen accurate Boba Fett, or Rando Mando. But for folks who just build the costume because they want to go to the convention in costume, they'll walk around freely. They don't worry about being stationed somewhere. They're comfortable stopping in an aisle and getting a picture with, Batman and Deadpool and Rick Grimes all at one. Whereas if you're at one of these tables, oh no, you gotta scoot over there because we're doing costume club pictures, and we don't have time for you right now. Give us a minute.
Well, we were at the Oaks. I don't know if you've ever been to the Oaks Convention Center.
Yeah, that's where the Brick Fest is, and
yeah,
things like that.
One of the first years, I think it was either Brick Fest or one of the robotics cons or something like that. The 501st was back in the corner, and Marty and I were both in TKs, and we weren't getting many people because it was spread out. So I hate just standing there. So we were walking the floor. Well, Marty brought his hoverboard, so he's riding on his hoverboard in his TK. And we were like Pied Pipers bringing people into the back to the table,
Yeah,
that's why
go ahead.
that's why they had Droid Hunt. So when I was at Steel City's too crowded to do Droid Hunt now, but I brought Droid Hunt to Steel City because we had too many people crowding around the table. And I don't know if you ever were involved in a Droid Hunt. The Droid Hunt is really cool when it's done right. Like Friday, people pick up. Have you ever seen a Droid Hunt done?
I haven't seen it done, but I've heard of it.
So I made a video. I made a video of me giving the directions, and we had it playing on a TV with a. I think it was a VCR. To be honest with you, I think that's how old it was.
John, have you ever heard of one of those?
I've heard of it. Never.
So
VCR, yeah. I think that sounds familiar.
So the directions are that people have to wear these badges on lanyards. I think I had 3,500 or something. Like all these, and you wore these droids on your neck. So you picked them up Friday night. The Droid Hunt was from noon till 4 on Saturday, and we went out on teams. So we signed up as teams. So it was like you had to have people with masks on. You could not have the rule for Droid Hunt. You couldn't have like an officer. You could have an officer in your group, but he couldn't be the person asking the kid. You were supposed to say how long have you had those droids or whatever, and then you take the card from the person on their lanyard and you give them a ticket. Then they take the ticket back and put it in for the drawing on Sunday. And then the teams, once we collect 10 droid cards, we take them back and we get a tally. So the teams the people are competing to win prizes. The people trooping are competing against the other troopers, but you have to come back every 10. And then you also give the Rebel Legion. I printed up some Rebel Legion Jedi Mind Trick cards. And the Jedi Mind Trick, if I ask a kid, hey, how long have you had these droids? If he pulls out the Jedi Mind Trick card, I have to take the Jedi Mind Trick card and go back to the table before I hunt for any more droids.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And so you do this for, 4 hours. And then that year, Bantam Doubleday or someone donated like 75 or 80 hardback books. We were giving books away at Steel City for almost 2 hours. Like pretty much everyone that participated and showed up won a book,
See, and that's the kind of thing that I think would be fantastic for getting all 3 or 4, or however many there are, costuming clubs to work together. So each team should have one person from the Rebel Legion, one person from the 501st, one person from the Mando Mercs, one person from the Saber Guild, whatever.
Yep.
Well,
that's what
from the perspective of the troopers are trying to win, but we're trying to work together to go find these droids.
Yeah, well, that's the Rebel Legion did. They were the ones handing out the mind trick cards. So they were, and the Rebel Legion would try to like hide people. Like if you're walking in your TK and there was someone wearing a lanyard around your neck, the Rebel Legion guy would step in front.
Oh, that's fun. Okay. That's even more creative. Okay, so, I see what you did there.
So it was good. It was just it's a lot of work. Like I worked on that thing for 4 months before because I had to get the artwork, and then I had to send all the artwork to the 501st, which then had to be approved at the Legion level because they had to submit it to, I forget who was, I don't know if it was Mary Franklin back then, whoever was in charge of like the
PR.
Well, there's that one person that's in charge. He goes through all the costuming groups to make sure we're not going too crazy with our
Now,
with our.
how did the convention attendees get involved in the droid hunt? What did they have to do?
So all they had to do was, so like I said, I had the directions were we just had to sign up, pick up your badge for the droid hunt. The droid hunt's from noon to 4 on Saturday. So all they had to do was be in the convention. Friday night, they picked up their lanyard from us with a droid badge. I think I showed them to you when you're at my house. They're like big cards. And they just had to wear them around their neck between noon and 4 o'clock.
Yeah, see, I'm just wondering, what about the person who just comes in on Saturday and doesn't come in?
It was made. So when we sold it to the convention, it was like, look, here's something that would maybe make someone buy a 3-day ticket.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Like, look, they pick them up on Friday. We do it on Saturday. They get their prize on Sunday. So there's a reason, you know what I mean? That's like, that's a benefit for your, because a lot of this stuff, like we had prizes and stuff. Most of the time, the droid hunts, they have like 20 prizes. We just had a shit ton of prizes. And then I printed up, I used an Excel spreadsheet and I printed up tickets. So they were all numbered. And then I took a perforating tool. So I made a little tear off, and it's a droid hunt. It had our logo on it. You could tear the ticket off, and they would just fill their name in. And then we would just do a drawing, and they had to be present when we were doing the drawing. I just put the video of me doing it. I found the video when I was cleaning up videos. I put it on TikTok of me just calling out numbers and stuff. And we gave out a lot of stuff. We were back at the problem was the video I showed was when we were the second time we did. The first time we did it, we were back in the corner of Steel City, and we didn't have much room, and it was fun.
Because I'm wondering nowadays with folks, when they buy their tickets, they get the QR code. I'm wondering if participation in the droid hunt is something that they could select as extra to do. There's no fee to it.
Yeah,
but they select it as extra, and
dude, there's a whole section on the 501st boards. Like I know they've changed some of the rules. There's different variations of the droid hunt, but when I did it, like you had to follow, like they were like, you have to do it this way. It has to, you know what I mean? Like, like it had to be, but that's when I discovered bargain basement prints, because I had to print all these cards, and then I went to my school and I said, how much does a roll of lamination cost? It was like $75 or something like that. I said, if I buy a roll, because I only need like a half a roll. If I buy a roll, can I run it through the school laminator? So I just, after school one day, I just stood there and laminated a couple thousand cards, just, and then I had to hand punch them, and we used yarn because I couldn't buy like whatever 2,000 lanyards or whatever it was. I was like, I didn't want to buy, I was trying, I already bought all the cards, but it was fun. I mean, it did, but you need a lot of troopers. Like, and I think because of COVID, I think there's a slump in the amount of people showing up sometimes than what we used to get. We used to get like 80 people at Steel City show up.
80 costumed people?
80 costume people show up.
Holy cow.
Like
I don't think I've ever, other than Celebration, I don't think I've ever been to an event with that many costume Star Wars people at one time.
They used to give us unlimited access. They would give us 2 rooms and a changing room. And on paper, we would have 80 people. I think the most I ever saw in costume at Steel City was probably like 25, 30 at a time. But still.
That's bonkers.
Now that reminds me, Mike, are you planning on trooping Steel City in December, or are you just going to go?
It all depends on what we get done. If I have Vader done, I'm trooping.
I'd hope so. You've got, what, 5 months now?
Yeah, I should be fine. Like I said, I'm knocking out all this little stuff in my garage. I'm just going through, I'm just going on a shelf. Whatever's on the shelf, that's getting done. So I have a little bit more work on my one Biker Scout helmet. I got to put some finishing touches on the Ezra one, and then that clears up a whole shelf. I'm just going through and knocking them out. And
how's the Clone Trooper coming?
The Clone Trooper's still sitting where it was. I have to mold the helmet, because the helmet it came with is the fatter helmet. Mm-hmm. Even though the one's a little tighter fit, I like the looks of it. My old mold, one I think you made, Ken. Did you make one?
I made one, phase 1.
Yeah, I like that. I like that style better than I have two molds. I have the slightly wider mold and the skinnier mold. I like the skinnier mold better. The one like you made, Ken. I just think they have a better aesthetic. But they're a tight.
Yeah, I identify as a slender clone.
Yeah. Well, my problem is if I make it too thick, it won't fit over whatever this bone is on my, so I have to make. Yeah, I don't know. I got high cheekbones and high whatever bone this is, whatever this like Neanderthal bone.
Well, if you ever give up on it, I will pay you exactly what you paid for it.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't. Well, I don't know. I might. You catch me on the right day, I might take you up on that because I look at it and I'm just like, oh, do I really need this project?
Oh, I still have Vader to finish.
I know. Well, that's what Well, that would pay for my lightsaber. Yeah, I just it was when I saw that TK armor come up. This is so, and I don't want to harp on the elitism of our groups because I think we've talked about that enough. But there's two things. When I saw that it was for members and cadets only, that rubbed me the wrong way. Like, if I was selling something, like, let's say I decided, hey, you know what, I don't want that clone kit. And let's say I didn't know you, John, and I didn't know Ken. And let's say for some reason I don't want that clone kit, and I'm going to basically give it away for like $50. I could see someone saying, look, I just want to give it to one of the members. I could understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Like just trying to keep it in-house. But when you're selling something that's not that cheap, it has a lot of extras, but when you're selling something that you decided to buy tons and tons of extras for, you can't really include that in your price.
Well, I recently saw it was on one of the Facebook costuming groups, and someone had a bunch of accessories that they had purchased, and I don't know if their post was a typo or not, but it said something to the effect of, I paid X for this thing, and I'm going to sell it for more than X plus shipping.
Yeah.
Because I can understand it the other way around. I paid more than, like, I paid X, and I'm going to sell it for X minus. But no, it was, let's say it was $50. I bought this for $50. I'll sell it to you for $60 plus shipping.
Yeah.
I'm not going to use it, but I'll gladly do the markup.
Yeah. I was going to throw it in the trash, but I think I'll charge you even more for it.
Yeah.
The other thing is when I was at Celebration, we were talking about squires or handlers, and the one guy, and I never thought about this, and normally I think about the words we say, but the one guy was like, well, we don't call them squires because it makes it sound like the guys in costume are royalty, so we call them handlers. And I thought about that, and I was like, you know what? That's probably not a bad idea, because that could I could see that being
Well, even the phrase handler sounds a little off-putting as well.
Well, that's true too. But
this is the person that got the handle.
But being a handler can be off-putting. Like I said, I've seen Missy reach in under costumes in any other setting would have probably not been a good thing,
Well, even in my Kennex kit, I've had to turn to somebody and say these words out loud in public. Excuse me, do you mind helping me with my cod piece? Or my boba thong? Like, I've said those words to another person, and they knew exactly what I was talking about, and they just reached in and did what was necessary.
Yeah, that's kind of why, that's half the reason I haven't trooped yet, is because I want to make sure I've got my own handler. Because I've got terrible social anxiety, and asking someone hey, can you help me grab this piece off of my excessively sweaty body?
Well, I will tell you this, John. Once you troop, you will be surprised. I don't know if I can explain it as much as that helmet's still on the shelf, so I'm get to it. It's on the next shelf to be done. The heat is killing me, honestly. I went to work on. I went to mow. I had to get up at 7 a.m. to mow today because it was just so hot. I knew at least it'd be done. No, but once you go to an event, John. Especially when I heard you talking about that. watching you at Steel City, you're going to have a blast because you were in that costume. You were a different person. And you're doing Kylo, which I know you like the Mandalorian, but I don't think you're going to feel the full power of being Kylo until. And on top of that, because your hair is cut, you can remove your helmet as long as you stay in character.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so like I know Karita, they have a rule: we're not allowed to remove our helmets in public areas ever. And some garrisons have that, and some garrisons don't. It just depends on the garrison. But most garrisons, and most people don't follow this, they try to. Most garrisons, you're supposed to stay in character. So with your costume, you can pull that helmet off and still be Kylo. Like I'm always in character as a stormtrooper. I try to be when I'm trooping. And now sometimes it might be a funny character. Like if the kid will ask a stupid question, I try to give him a stupid Star Wars question back. Like, hey, like I was at an event this last, I didn't take my blaster. The school said we could have our blasters, but because of recent whatever, I didn't feel comfortable having a blaster hanging on the side. So the kid asked me, hey, where's your gun? You know, and I said Darth Vader wouldn't let me bring it to school. You know, like it was just, so it was in character, but it wasn't in character. So I think I think the Ohio garrison, at least the people I've met, seem like really chill.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, and a large percentage of the people I troop with are the same way. So I know sometimes I might come across slightly mildly jaded, but overall the experiences I've had, and when you get in and you start meeting those people, we're all socially awkward, more than we think, you know, until we get our costumes on, you know.
Oh yeah, we're just a different kind of socially awkward.
Well,
then we can rack it up to the character. I mean, John, you're going to be Kylo Ren, and I don't know if a lot of folks know this, but spoiler alert: sometimes Kylo Ren can be a jerk.
Yeah,
he throws temper tantrums. He breaks stuff. He tries to, you know, penetrate people's minds. He's not necessarily a nice dude. So you can get snarky. You can, you know, without getting borderline, you know, rude.
Right.
One of the things I've started to do at events, and I don't know if this is a good thing, a bad thing, a right thing, or a wrong thing, I just know that I do it, that if I'm in costume and then there are other folks in costume who are behaving in ways that don't match with how I think we should, I just move. Like,
yep.
just like, okay, I'm gonna go over there. I'm gonna stand over on that side, or I'm gonna patrol the floor. You do whatever you're doing. I just don't want to be too closely associated with it, so I'm gonna go over there.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. That's well, and you know, and you'll find that. I mean, I get frustrated when people just stand like a mannequin. You know, like I understand. Like sometimes stormtroopers have to. Like I've been to events where they're like, okay, we need 2 stormtroopers standing on this side of this door. We did a fundraiser for a museum, and they just wanted stormtroopers standing on each side of the door. So I basically had to stand there. But if you're at a convention, a picture with a whole crowd of people doesn't really do any. If you spread out, and then you can be taking 7 and 8 pictures at a time, you know, and you can be interacting with people.
Yeah, like I'm really excited for. So I've signed up for 1 event so far. Technically 2, but the other one is in March. So, but I'm really excited because first off, it's 20 minutes down the road from me.
Oh, that's cool.
And 2, it's an evening event. So it's what it is it's an art gallery that has like a cosplay theme to it. So they invited the 501st.
Yeah, that should be a lot of fun.
And the other thing is it's so there's every month at the beginning of the month there's an event it's in Canton, Ohio called First Friday. It's exactly what it sounds like. The first Friday of every month, it's like a massive block party. All of downtown gets shut down. Like people are just going to different restaurants and bars and having a good time. So, that being said, a large social event, because the event's only 3 hours. It's from 5 to 8. So it's all just yeah, I figured afterwards, I can at least go out and have a drink and kind of celebrate a troop well done, in theory. The other one is Fan Expo in Cleveland, and that's in March.
Oh, that'll be a big one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good one.
They already they reached out it again. It was only 4 months ago, and they already are like, "Hey, you coming back for 2023?" So, yeah, I know that's definitely one that I'm not going to want to miss.
That's the kind of event that you start, paying attention to who the guests are, because sometimes the guests react really positively to certain characters. So
Right.
Oh
it's
yeah,
too bad Canton is 7.5 hours away from me.
Hey, but
Well-
Cleveland could be Cleveland's further. I forget you're south.
Well, the other thing is with the guests too, if you catch them on the right, the right time and what they like, you'll be surprised at the interactions you get with guests.
Heather and I spent probably 45 minutes hanging out with Tony Todd and Daniel Logan. Not necessarily at the same time, but individually.
Oh yeah. Well, Daniel Logan is the nicest dude. He every time he sees Zoe, he runs, and the couple times he's run into her. So yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to find. So we trooped, which I hope you get to troop with her. She's from Maryland, because your costume would. Let me see if I can find her. There we go. See if I can share this picture. This is your goal of Sam Kelly. She's from Maryland. She does a ray.
Ah.
Her ray is ridiculous.
She's got the little boots and everything.
Oh yeah.
But does she have the Phillips head screw on her bow staff?
I don't knowing her, yes, probably.
If not, she's a fake costumer.
Well, she's a graphic designer for Disney merchandise now.
Oh, very cool.
She, if I remember correctly, she designed the BT action figure for Kenner when she was an intern.
When was that? I wonder if she would know Demetrius and Anthony.
This would have been a couple years ago. Because when I met her, she had just graduated high school, so that would have been Force Awakens time.
Oh yeah, I think Anthony and Demetrius were out of Hasbro and Kenner by then.
Probably.
And I was just kidding about the fake fan thing and the screw on her bow staff.
Oh, sure, Ken. You're on the.
Now I've become the apologist. I'm sorry. Don't cancel me.
We're gonna have to.
Yeah, sorry about it. The inflatable falcon is now down to 2.
Actually, looking at this picture makes me think of a question for John. Hey, John, have you been practicing your Kylo poses?
No, I've been so whopped with other things.
So
the best part about it is you can do it wherever. You can be standing around in the showroom and then break out into a pose with a broomstick or whatever. And
have someone shoot you with a Nerf gun and just hold your hand out. There's the Nerf guns that shoot those little round balls. Just hold.
Oh, those are dangerous, man. You need glasses with those.
Those hurt.
Look here. I have notes. My note was card. I was thinking. I still think you guys need a card of John's Mando on one side and your Kennex on the other side. But alongside it, you need like all the identifiers with little arrows. Like you could put a little heart, like love of charity or something like that. You know what I mean? On each one, but you could have all the different ones. And then that would be a good handout card.
What if that thing was in the middle and so our pictures are on the side and down the middle? Because that way it could have arrows going in both directions.
Yeah, there you go.
Like for instance, my Kennex, his rangefinder's on the left side.
Den doesn't have a rangefinder.
And depending on what scene you watch,
I'm gonna have a rangefinder on each side.
There are some Mandos that have that actually.
I've seen those.
Yep. Depending on which scene of Boba Fett you watch, it's the rangefinder switches.
Well, the other thing about that is after dealing with rangefinders with Sabine, I hate rangefinders on helmets. Like it's just mainly just the actual hauling of the helmet. You know, like the new ones they come off, but her first two it's fixed. It's a fixed rangefinder. So and from being in the bag, the one is bent in a little bit. You know, so I had to slowly just warm it up and bend it back out. So yeah, I'm not a rangefinder person.
Yeah, my Rex helmet made me hate rangefinders because it snapped off after like 2 weeks, and I'm like, you know what? It's a Rebels helmet now.
Well, I found a 3D file of a rangefinder that when I did Keeley, and it had a hole in it, so I put a flat, rounded head so you couldn't see it through it with a wing nut.
Oh, see, I use Chicago screws for mine, and I've got the rod of the rangefinder is aluminum.
Nice.
Mm.
And then I just used the wing nut and for that one I used if you ever use the Montana Gold paint.
Yep.
You know how it has that ring that keeps it from working?
Yes.
It's a rubber ring. I use that so when you tighten it, it doesn't over tighten it, so it'll still move.
Where's the wing nut part?
The wing nut's on the inside. The bolt comes in. There's a
so
flat
the wing
washer.
nut has a potential of rubbing in your face.
Put a piece of foam over it. Don't cry about it.
Yeah, I got hit in the eye. I'm a pirate.
Chicago screws, man. Chicago screws.
I do love Chicago screws, but the guy at Home Depot didn't know what a Chicago screw was last time. He looked at me like I was talking foreign language. I was like,
I think that's a Home Depot thing, because when I went to our local Home Depot here in Jersey, it was the same thing until he yelled down the aisle to some other senior citizen coworker who was up on a ladder.
Yeah.
And I kid you not, the response back was, "Are you talking about sex bolts? Do you need some sex bolts?" I'm like, dude, first of all, no. Second of all, don't yell that.
Well, you know what's the best? The best thing about a Chicago, I use the Chicago screws for the 3PO helmets. So you know what the extenders for this is like the most boring part of podcasting here. You know what the extender for a Chicago screw looks like? It's like threaded on one end and it's open on the other. I usually sink that in steel stick, and then that gives you a threaded hole to put the other piece in.
Huh.
So, that is riveting.
It is.
Oh Jesus!
And the little brass.
Quit screwing around, John.
The little brass fitting that fits on the back of the 3PO head that the antenna holds it in place. That's a window hanger. That's one of those brass window hanger or picture hangers with a big circle in the end, and then you just tack it into a back of a picture frame.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Man, that's pretty creative. You nailed it.
Dude, I was
Stop it.
You know how you have all those drawers of nuts and bolts? When I was getting 000 ready for Chicago, I would literally just go stand in front of those drawers and think, okay, this is what I need to do. And I would buy those little paper envelopes that you have to write down the code. It would just be a random assortment of crap. I have 2 full drawers of stuff that didn't work.
Oh, I'm sure. I think that's every crafter, woodworker, whatever, has that collection of random things that you hope someday you'll use for something, and then when you go to need it, you find the one right thing. You're like, oh, now I just need 7 of these.
Yeah,
but I don't know where I got these from. They were just in this, like you said, this envelope or this drawer.
I had an uncle who had those little plastic drawer things, and he had everyone labeled like perfectly. Like if you needed a whatever screw, and it was perfect. And then I was raised by my grandfather. We just had Folgers coffee cans.
They were all in there.
And when it was full, you just sit it on the shelf. And when we would work on cars, we would just fill these cans. And then when we put the car back together, you just hoped you didn't have that many left over.
I'll do you one better. So my grandfather passed away back in May. And my parents went down to help my grandma just kind of like get all the things that he had that she has no use for. I shit you not, the man had 6 5-gallon buckets full to the top of various screws, nails, random pieces of hardware. And I asked my dad, I'm like, hey, what's, because we're unloading it from the truck. I'm like, what's in all these 5-gallon buckets? They're incredibly heavy. He's like, oh, screws. I'm like, what do you mean
And
screws?
your dad took them though. That's the funny part.
From
Oh,
where
yeah.
to where? Where did he bring them from, and where did he bring them to?
From
How far
grandma?
away?
Hour and a half.
So 3 hours worth of driving for multiple pounds of screws and nuts and bolts.
Well, there's more than that, but that was probably, that and the grill were probably the 2 main things that he went down for.
But he went down for the 5-gallon buckets of screws. Those could hold down the inflatable Falcon better than
Yeah, there you go.
sand.
Yeah, but I was dumbfounded. I'm like, so because they had moved, my grandparents had moved, I think a year or two ago, from a house that they owned and they'd worked on and done all sorts of things to a condo that was they've got their own people to do their own things. And I asked him, like, look, I get it, but why did he bring it from home to the condo? Like,
You're always going to sort it if someday.
It's, and I was like, okay. I'm more so amazed that he had 6 full, not to mention the Folgers coffee cans on top of that.
Well, this is where you start messing with your dad. Hey, Dad, can you go through? I'm looking for a wing nut. Can you check out Grandpa's buckets?
Yeah, you want to dig through one of those 5-gallon buckets that.
My grandfather had some of those in the basement, and unfortunately, our basement wasn't the driest place. So what would ultimately happen is he'd put all this stuff in and forget about it. You would go to look for something, and it would just be a rusty mess. So you're gonna do one of 2 things. You're either not gonna be able to find what you're looking for, or you're gonna get tetanus from digging through it, trying to find what you're looking for and not find.
Yeah, my grandfather, our garage, we had a big garage and then 2 garages we painted cars in, and they were dirt floors with old carpet. When I actually redid the garages, there was about 6 inches of carpet over the years that had just been laid down and was matted down, because I had to take a backhoe to it to pull the carpet out. So fun times, but that's how we learned to build stuff.
Yeah, by matting down.
Well, I'm not gonna lie on the ground. What are you, crazy?
Oh man,
give me an old carpet remnant any day.
Yeah, I was so happy the first time I had to work on a car in my new garage with a cement floor. I was like, man, I can use a dolly and roll under it. What? I don't have to put 6 boards under the jack so it doesn't collapse and smash me like a, we used to have just a stack of boards for jacks. But like my grandfather would have got a kick out of all the costume building. He would have been the Greedley man. Like if I would have been doing this when my grandfather was still alive, that's where I would have, like, he would have been the droid guy. Like he would have been where you went to get all your Greedleys for your droids, because he had like the anchor. When we went fishing one time in the boat, the anchor was 2 Singer sewing machines tied together with a chain. That was the anchor. It was,
of course. See, I wish my mom and or my grandparents were still alive, because my mom and my grandmother were seamstresses. They when I was a kid, they would, unfortunately and fortunately, they would make some of our clothes, but they knew how to make patterns. They knew how to they attempted to teach me the rudimentary basics of sewing, which I picked up some of that sort of stuff. I've forgotten more than I remember, but they could. I mean, my grandmother would do wedding dresses and hand embroidery stuff.
Nice.
So
I bet you're kicking yourself now for not remembering it.
A million times, yes. And I know that they're laughing at me, saying, "You should have paid attention. You were too busy trying to avoid us getting outside."
Yeah, my grandmother taught me how to sew, and she had an old. I wish I had her old sewing machine. It was electric, but it was like just like right after they went electric. So it was simple. It was literally you put something in, make sure your finger's not near the needles going right through your like you could sew like I think you could sew like wood with it if you had to, you know. But I so this week I worked on Zoe's jetpack and I was trying to do the magnetic backpack and it did not work. So I just got a new set of magnets and we'll see. Because
Did you check out Redman Studios?
I did not. Because then I wound up taking off what I did and put elastic strapping on it where she could tuck it under the shoulder armor so you'd only see a little bit of the straps. I just don't like it. It'll work, but I just don't like it.
Well, with the Redman Studio harnesses, they actually go under the vest, and there's a little cutout on the vest where the jetpack support goes through.
But Sabine doesn't have that. The problem is Sabine doesn't have a vest.
Yeah, but doesn't she have a top?
She just has but with the thing with Sabine is if I do that, I'd have to make a second top to go.
Does she have a back plate?
Nope. It just literally sticks in the middle of her back.
Love Star Wars.
Huh? Yeah, I know.
Huh. I'm glad that that E-Girl's grandmom still makes stuff.
Yeah, that's cool.
Still makes clothes.
I mean, it says, did you guys hear rumors of Force Ghost Anakin dying? I have not heard those rumors.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't believe, honestly, like, I don't know. I'm there was all these people were trying to, what was that? They were going to reshoot the prequels or the sequels is what I saw today on one of the feeds. One of the clickbaits was they were going to reshoot the sequels.
Well, I had seen a clickbait article that Kathleen Kennedy was going to be out at Lucasfilm.
Oh yeah, I heard that like 4 years ago too.
Yeah,
Life Force Drain or something. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they'll do with. I'm.
If you heard it from Mike Zero, it's probably a load of shit.
Oh yeah, who's that? That's from what podcast?
Oh, I don't even know.
Rebel Force Radio, something like that.
No, I think it's his own thing. No, I think it's his own thing.
I think I mean, from what I would not be surprised if the Ahsoka. I don't think they're going to upstage Ahsoka with Anakin, to be honest with you, and I don't think they need to. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because like Obi-Wan, you kind of had to have Anakin in it. I don't know if Ahsoka. I think Ahsoka's Anakin arc is finished. Right?
Yeah, it definitely could be. It doesn't have to be, but it could be.
No, but I mean, if you keep having Anakin show up for every Jedi that he had some kind of interaction, like when do you get away from that? Like,
well, it depends on if it's showing up in the present, or the past, or the future, because they could do stuff where they do. I mean, one of the things I find interesting about the live action shows that have come out recently has been the use of flashbacks. That's been far more prevalent in these new live action stuff than in the movies and so on.
Well, see, I would love to see a flashback, but I still think just because you have so much stuff untied, I think it's going to be moving more forward towards the Rebel storyline than it is towards the other stuff. Because I was saying to Zoe the other day when they did the lightsaber fight with Kenobi and Vader, and he busted his helmet and stuff, and I know they busted the other side. And John and Zoe actually talked about it on Zoe's podcast. But I also think that was done for the people that don't watch the animated. There's a large percentage of Star Wars people that do not watch the animated.
Well, I think it also was done in an effort to connect to A New Hope. So I think it was kind of a combination of both.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But I mean, every Star Wars fan loves to be able to lean over and say to someone else, "Hey, well, there's more of this there." Like when we were kids, you leaned over and say, "Well, that guy's name's Walrus Man because I have the action figure," And then when they came out with the special editions were so cool because you had the. But no, wait a minute. Was that before or after? you had some of the resource material that you could point out stuff.
Yeah. So
You know.
so it was the what was the Coast RPG game?
Yes. West Coast.
Wizards.
No.
West Coast or
West
Wizards
Coast
of the
Games. West Coast
West-
Games.
So those came out, and then the special editions came out.
Yes. So you could say that rank, because remember the Imperial one had all the rank badges, told you what the ranks were, and you could say, "Oh, that guy's ranked so and so," you know. So, I think, I just hope they keep moving forward. I'm not going to, after the Kenobi show. I definitely am not second guessing anything. I think Andor is going to be awesome. I think it's going to be very divisive, because I think it's going to be hard to skip the politicalness in Andor. It's going to be what the Vietnam / Return of the Jedi type, but even more so. You know what I mean? Because at least when Return of the Jedi, it was 8 years after the last people left Vietnam. You know.
I anticipate somebody saying, this is not a direct quote in the future, but I anticipate someone saying something to the effect of, "I wish we could go back to Star Wars when it wasn't about politics."
I know.
Oh,
I think people are already saying that.
Or I wish they would do Star Wars without the comedy.
Oh yeah.
Because at some point they got to have K2SO in there somewhere.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious when he comes around though, because I remember there was rumor that he wasn't in the first season.
Yeah,
that's been confirmed.
Yeah,
okay.
I was gonna say it's not a rumor.
But you see, my idea for a comedy, I want Seinfeld. I put it on Facebook today. I want a Seinfeld sitcom with Owen and Aunt Beru. That's what I want.
And Tika, don't forget Tika.
Yep, Tika, and Ajax Citizen could be Kramer, and
see, I like the idea of it. I would just like to have it in one of the, either in Mos Espa or Mos Eisley. That way you have like an actual apartment building where these folks would come in and out, like in Seinfeld. I mean, when
well, yeah, but I was thinking. See, now this will really age me, but I was thinking the Jawa could be like Mr. Haney. Remember Mr. Haney from Green Acres? Right, the guy who wasn't he the guy that just came and sold shit? Like he just showed up. So like the Jawa just shows up, you know, and then what's her face?
That's what he did in the Kenobi show. I mean,
yeah, he just shows up.
Not only did he show up and sell stuff, he showed up and sold stuff that he stole from you when you weren't home.
Yeah. So it's weird what they've done to Jawas, in the sense that, like the Mandalorian, like the girls would have loved and probably cried as children when they were first Jawas. That second episode of the Mandalorian.
They got disintegrated.
Because I remember showing them troops when the trooper shot the Jawa's head off. I wasn't thinking. I just, I was like, hey, you guys should see these Jawas. And
Actually, going back to Zoe's podcast, I was listening to it on the way to work today. And is it my imagination, or did it just drop off at the very end, or did I do something with my?
Well, you know what? I haven't listened all the way to the end yet. Just I was listening to it when I was mixing it. So you know what? That I will check. Because sometimes that's me.
Okay.
Sometimes
I didn't know if I was listening to it while I was driving, and then when I got to work, I didn't have time to go back and see if I accidentally fast forward to the next episode.
I'll have to check, because I didn't listen to I have like 10 minutes left to listen to. Because I when I edit it, I try to just throw it in there, throw the bumpers on, and put it up, because I don't like to listen to it until I hear it like everyone else hears it. And there is occasion where I'll either do something like one time I downloaded the wrong audio twice, so it was the wrong episode twice. I did it because I can't access SoundCloud is blocked by our filter. So if I mess something up, I can't fix it till I get home. So.
And going back to what you're talking about with Jawas, I'm just so glad that the folks who are involved with Star Wars now are willing to include non-human characters. As I mean, yes, they always had Chewbacca and C-3PO and R2-D2, but some more of these other characters that we've seen on the screen for a long time that were just there, but now they're more actively involved in the stories.
Yeah.
That's why I think with the Ahsoka show, they got to bring in Hondo. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I would, but see Hondo, I could even see Hondo being slid into Andor in passing, like not
It
as
could
a
work.
not
how
as
old is he? How old is Hondo?
Well, he was in Andor takes place. We don't know his species, so we don't. He could be. But
we know his species.
I know, but I mean, we don't know how they age or anything like that.
Oh, that part we don't know.
So, but
Well,
so
I mean,
he was in Rebels. So Rebels takes place after Andor,
and he's in Batu, which is technically canon.
Yeah, and that's
he's in Batu now, though. In the First Order time, I don't think he's there.
No, but I'm saying
time.
so he's alive in all. He could be in any of these shows,
right?
Okay.
Yeah, because he obviously he was in the Clone Wars, then he was in Rebels, now he's in Batu, so that gives you all 3 trilogies to work with, and obviously all the space in between.
That would be a fun costume, but I think if I was going to do that costume, I would do prosthetics rather than a mask, because the few that I've seen, like I saw some really good Hondos at and the same I see it with Cad Bane as well. If you're not careful, the mask makes you look like a bobblehead. Like
and I think it's also hard. Isn't it hotter than prosthetics?
Yeah, but it's way cheaper, and it's easier because the prosthetics, you have to. There's some skill, plus you have to put makeup on, and you have to get it. You got to make a life cast of your face. So when you make the prosthetics, like to me, like before I knew Marty, they had a life cast party. If you guys ever get invited to a party where they do life cast, go. It doesn't matter how much it costs you, go, because they'll make you a life cast of your face. And then you have that. It's made out of basically this stuff that's like concrete. And then any costume you make, you can actually work on it on your own face. So like when Marty makes his Chewbacca masks, he built it right off of his own face. So when he wears his Chewie mask, it fits, the underskull fits his face perfect.
Like a glove.
Yeah, see, I want that for costuming purposes and just creepy purposes. I would move that around the house.
Well, if you go, Marty's house, he has like his it's hanging up. But him and I don't know if you met Scooter before. He does Zuckuss. But that was before I knew Marty. They did a life cast part because I looked. I was going to buy the stuff, but I was just like, I don't need one more thing to do. I don't need one more thing to take up a day in my.
Is that his given name?
Who, Scooter?
Yeah.
Andrew Parmet.
Okay. Because I think I would remember a Scooter. I mean, anyone who's named after someone from the Muppets, that would definitely.
Yeah, no.
Or wasn't there a Scooter in the Dukes of Hazzard?
No, I think it was Cooter.
Cooter.
Which I don't think is I don't think that word aged.
That's
well.
not.
Yeah, different meanings.
Yeah.
Some nicknames don't age well.
Yeah, these are my 2 cousins, Scooter and Cooter. Stay away from Cooter; he'll get you in trouble.
But yeah, life cast would definitely, because if you were going to do a Hondo, a life cast would definitely, because even if you made a mold. That you'd make, so if you took a mold of that, then you would use that as a positive. So when you pour in the latex, you would have a perfect fit.
Yeah, I can think of so much, like whether you're doing a Weequay or a Twi'lek or even a Torguda, if I'm pronouncing that right. And I think having that life cast would be great to be able to build those. I've always wanted, and I don't know the kind of creature he is. I wanted to make an Elan Sleaze Bagano costume.
Oh yeah,
he had those little head stalks and wore that really cool long, like a trench coat kind of thing.
I like the devil guy from New Hope.
Oh, the Devroni.
Yeah, or there's that other guy that's like shiny black with a big domed head, or the werewolf.
Can I ask a very off-topic question that's just completely
on this show? No.
Which Muppet was Scooter? Was he the yellow one with
the glasses? He had the big glasses. He was like the assistant,
the stagehand.
Yeah, stagehand. Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure I had my Muppets in order.
Well, thanks for clarifying that. Scooter's a very important character in the
Yeah.
Muppet world. And what's funny is his eyes are attached to his glasses. So when he takes his
Yeah.
glasses off,
Yeah.
he's eyeless.
Right. Okay. Yeah. No, I could picture it, but I just couldn't. For some reason, the connection wasn't there. Anyway, please continue. Elon Sleaze Bagano. And
No, that would be another great costume to use that life cast of my head on.
Yeah, well, any of those like the life cast usually is like the middle of your forehead. You know, you've probably seen people. You guys shove straws up your nose, and then they put all the stuff on your face and stuff like that.
I've
and
seen people make like shoulder up busts of
Yeah, you can do that. I don't know if I would do a shoulder up bust as a. I'd be worried about suffocating someone. You know what I mean? like, but if you make it, because if you had a shoulder up bust, that's like the guys who do like most of the time you have to have your head shaved or your hair has to be pulled tight. But like guys that'll do like Darth Maul or something like that, they'll have one of those where they can make sure the horns fit perfectly, you know, and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, I didn't think about Zabrax.
Yeah, so, but yeah, definitely life cast party. I mean,
where would one go to find out that there was a life cast party
it could
happening?
be like if you talk to the Mando Mercs, which I don't know if it would be a good one for Mando Mercs because you guys all do helmets. But if you talk to one of the groups and you get enough people to want to do it, because it's mainly just to buy the material for any of that stuff. Like if you go to Reynolds to get, like, someone is asking me about making a mold, I'm like, you're going to spend $300 to get, because you can buy the little samples. Then you're basically throwing your money away. So you got to buy the big stuff, and you might only use half of it, and it has a shelf life. So so you can't. It's not like you can stock up on it. So when you do life cast, you got to buy a lot to offset, to make the molds themselves. And then once you have the mold made, you can make life cast yourself all day, depending on the mold. Like if you do an overhead, like John was saying, you can do a split mold like that, and then you can cast your head in any material you want, as long as you keep your silicone nice. It'll last you for years.
Considering that what I've seen of people making those shoulder busts, I would want to make sure that the person I'm doing that with knows what they're doing and they know the safe word. Because when like you said, that there's the possibility of suffocation during this, and
yeah,
as much as I enjoy making costumes, I don't necessarily want to do something that risks my life.
That'd be the worst funeral ever. Oh, how'd he die? Was he in the army? No. Was he in a car accident? No. Cancer? No. He was making a life cast for costuming.
Yeah.
Ken, you mentioned a safe word, and I can only think of aliens. In space, no one can hear you scream. Pineapple juice is going to do you no good if you're completely encased in plaster.
Safe word is cornbread.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, and the problem with the life cast, you can't have a straw in your mouth because you want your mouth to be shut. So you usually, like I said, it's straws up your nose.
Yeah.
It's just to get the better. Because if you open your mouth and you change this shape and you change this shape, this is when you like I know like Dan and some of the guys that do the Emperor, they do life cast and then they do, all the prosthetics for the Emperor. Some guys just wear a mask, which is fine. But if you want that to be able to emote and do all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus you stick a straw in your mouth, you're making a cast of something you didn't want to.
That's true. That can also come back later.
Yeah.
I'll want you.
Yeah, this show is taking a detour.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know where we went off track. I don't know if it was safe word or cooter.
I keep waiting for John's picture to show up on the 501st board, and I'm waiting for it to, because your screen has showed up on Ohio, but no picture. But your number isn't even up on the 501st board yet.
Is it not?
Not yet.
Huh.
You got to write a strongly worded email.
Yeah. No, I would imagine they probably only update like once a month. I wouldn't be surprised, because a lot of these services they charge them. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I know if you do the member search, I'm in there.
Oh, good. Then you're just not on the list yet.
Gotcha.
You might be. Maybe they put new ones in another column. But is your picture up yet, or is it still just the?
No, it's still just Vader's silhouette.
Yeah. Did they ask you for a background or anything like that? Like,
No, I sent pictures out for my trading cards. However, it was
Nice.
like 2 a.m. and I messed it up 3 times. So I'm tempted to just message the GWL and just be like, hey, just so you know, I don't know if you got this or not, but I'm just dumb.
yeah.
Thanks
Well,
for
you-
welcoming me to your group. I'm the dumb guy.
Yeah.
Well, what's nice about the cards is though you can get your official cards made, but then you can, like I said, you can make your own. Like I made a bookmark one time because we were doing a lot of events. I just ordered a book. I just made bookmarks. I was like, I had a bunch of pictures of people reading books in costume, so I just made a bookmark out of it. Yeah, as long as I didn't put any 501st logo, I was fine. You know.
Yeah, but can you still okay, just a general question. Can you still use like your TK number, for instance?
That's like a gray area. I probably wouldn't. I wouldn't put you on an unofficial card. And cards have changed over the years. Like when I first started, you would never see anyone's real name on their card. You know, it would be like TK blah blah blah, and then on the back it would just be something about a stormtrooper. And then
Yeah,
guys,
each of those costuming groups have different rules related to that stuff, whether it's the cards.
oh yeah,
Even down to the social media things and Facebook posts and stuff like that. So it might be worth, asking around to find out what the most recent rules are related to it.
yeah. Well, no, but if you're doing, I think John was asking if he did like a card on the side, like if you did a card on the side. But I
Yeah.
mean, I found most of that stuff. Like every time we do an election, there's always a question of, now what if some strip club owner asked you to come in your TK, right? And then people get all high and mighty. Well, that would be hurting that blah blah. And I always think, what the hell strip club owner is ever asking anyone to come in their TK? You know what I mean? Like it's just like one of those things where I don't think it's going to happen, because there for a while they were like, some people were getting so picky. They were like, well, look, if you go to a bar afterwards, make sure you don't have your 501st shirt on. And people are like, why? Like, I'm an adult. You know what I mean? Like, so
Even let's explore that one for a minute, because if you think about the Celebration and some of these other conventions, they have events where all of these people are going, and all of these there's bar there, and
yeah,
it's part of the event.
We had the giant Wampa guy with Wampa legs on stilts. Remember, was one of the bartenders or something at the bash in Orlando. He was wearing 6 foot or 7 foot tall Wampa legs with no shirt and Wampa horns, and he was one of the bartenders. So,
yeah, so I think sometimes people just get a little bit silly with some of this stuff.
That's where Ken's advice is the best, though. Like, you just check the rules for the cards and stuff. But but I think most people are just reasonable with that kind of stuff. Like,
I think it comes down to whether or not you make that connection to the 501st.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the bookmark. As long as you don't have the 501st logo or referencing the 501st,
yeah,
you could say your TK 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I think some people think like Disney's watching every move we make. Disney's happy we do what we do, but they have bigger things to worry about.
Well, I recently heard someone in one of the costuming groups go so far as to say you couldn't do those sort of things, whether it's a fan film, going to a friend's wedding in your costume, because Disney owns your costume.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And I'm like, no, they don't. They don't own mine. They don't.
Well,
they may own the IP, but they don't own the costume.
Well, and also Disney has proven, and Disney's actually more liberal about it than Lucasfilm was. Lucasfilm fought the 501st for years, until the Rose Bowl parade, when George Lucas saw them and all that. They weren't really overly happy with that, and yeah, but Disney doesn't care. I think if you look, it's a good thing to talk about with the thing that just came on Disney Plus. Lucasfilm, some of his founding principles was to share and help people see what he did, like behind the scenes. And so, and as much as they're being owned by Disney, people forget Lucasfilm is still its own company. Like it's still it's run differently than Marvel. We might think it's not the same. I mean, we might think it's the same because of outward appearances, but they have different philosophies.
Yeah. And I don't know if this is a Legion-wide thing or if this is an Ohio thing, but I've seen several times of, hey, like, yeah, have some common sense, but at the end of the day, your costume is your own property. It is your private property. You do with it what you choose to. Now, if that violates, if you're okay, I'm going to use a bad term for lack of a better term. If you're hurting the brand, then XYZ consequences will ensue. But at the end of the day, it is your personal property. Do with it what you please.
Yeah, I mean, if you're running around, downtown Ohio with your Kylo Ren helmet on, flashing your business, the group might say, you know what, we're gonna boot you out of the group. But if you're just going to the local ice cream stand in your Kylo Ren, ordering an ice cream and taking pictures with the kiddos, okay, like I don't think they're gonna have any problems with that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and I've even trooped events that weren't official events. Like I tried to get them to come to our local comic store for years, so me and the girls just trooped it, and we just never said we were with the 501st. We're just like, hey, we're and then eventually the 501st started doing it. But it comes down to, like Ken said, it's like and what you said, hurt the brand. Like the groups we're in, we should love them at a certain point, and you don't want to do anything to tarnish that. But that being said, like when I was on the command, we had a church that did a fair to help raise awareness or money, or I don't know what they did, and they wanted to have the 501st there. Well, because people don't know how to read, I think some of the members, Disney has said that they don't want the 501st to promote religion or something like that. That's what they told them. Well, this wasn't promoting religion. It was run by a church. They wouldn't do the event. And I was the only atheist on the staff arguing that we should do this event because it wasn't promoting a religion. But so some of the people just they get, I don't know if they get scared or it's a power trip, because the same with weddings. The wedding thing has come. I had charges brought up on me when I was the XO, because I said we could do weddings, and they had a fit because Disney said we do not want the 501st. We prefer the 501st doesn't, or no, we don't want the 501st charging for weddings or something like that. I forget what it was, and our staff wanted to tell the members, Disney said we can't do 500, we can't do weddings. That's what they wanted us to tell members. And I said, well, that's lying. That's not what they said. They said we can't charge for weddings.
Yeah, those two pieces don't match. They're not. Yeah. It's not a 1-to-1.
And they said, well, we just don't want to do weddings, and we're going to say that's what they told the. And so I breached protocol and told the membership that they could do weddings, and someone wanted to bring me up on charges. Well,
how dare you tell the truth?
I know,
right?
But I did a wedding. I did a wedding before. It was really cool.
Well, we've been invited to do one in November.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, that coworker that's getting married in November.
Yeah, I've actually, and it's funny you say that, because I remember you saying that in a previous conversation, one of the thousands we've had. I've seen in my week and a half in the 501st, I have seen 2 or 3 different wedding invitations, and I'm like, I thought Mike said they frowned upon weddings.
Just Karita. You go to Old Line, do weddings all day long.
I guess they also frown upon having a functional forum sign-up page. I'm still mad I can't sign up for it.
Yeah, it's.
Are you really missing anything?
Well, it is nice to see what's going on. I got to get back on the forums more. I hate the forums, but because I think like Zoe drives her nuts because it's John and Zoe are at an age where forums are unheard of. Ken and I came up when that was the whole internet.
Wait a minute. I grew up in the age of Reddit, which is the ultimate forum.
Yeah, but Reddit came back.
Yeah,
Like,
Reddit. Yeah,
Reddit is an anomaly. You know what I mean? If you take Reddit out of the picture, the internet in the 90s was basically bulletin boards and forums. That's all it was. You know,
Right, fair enough.
and
I still know what forums are then. Okay.
yeah, I know, but I'm saying you didn't do your daily, you know, AOL login, hear that noise, and then if someone put a picture up, you were waiting like 45 minutes to see it.
I'm not 8 years old, guys. Come on.
I know, man.
I know what dial-up is.
I know, but you didn't have to experience dial-up.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. I used the internet at a young age.
Yeah, but that was like I haven't had dial-up since like 98.
You guys sound like Bane.
We had dial-up still in at 2004, 2005.
Here, hang on.
You chose the dark. I was born in it. I've been in this fight since I was 6.
Uh-oh. What's he bringing
I
out
think you
now?
just grabbed an encyclopedia.
No, this is what I had to save my games on.
Is it from TRS-8?
Yes. It is called a Texas Instrument program recorder.
And
And it
the good old
basically
days.
it's a cassette recorder that would take 5 minutes to save your game.
What's a cassette?
I know. And you had to buy special computer cassettes that were only 5 minutes long because it wouldn't work with the longer cassettes.
Who would have known that we would have had a visit to the Smithsonian tonight?
I know, right? Well, you should see the laptop I give Anthony. When he was here, I had an Apple laptop from the early 90s, I think it was. That thing weighs like a ton. And I just give it because it had a trackball. It was before you could get a mouse for a computer. Had a trackball down where right below the space.
Ugh.
So
Probably before USB drives.
oh, there was no USB
yeah.
on that. No, it was the weird round with all the pins.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
yeah.
PS2 ports.
Serial ports and the modem, you had to fire up the modem. Or
Thank
first
you all
modem,
for joining this history of computer parts podcast.
Right.
my first modem had 2 round things on it. You put the handset of the phone in it, and then you dialed your friend's number. He would pick it up.
I heard about that sort of stuff, and I experienced it at friends' house, but we didn't even have dial-up at my house.
Yeah,
We didn't have the
this
internet.
this was before the internet. This was
We
like in 1984, 1985.
My house didn't have a game console. I had to go to my cousins to play things like Atari and Nintendo.
Yeah, well, I went to computer camp when I was a kid, so I was pretty bad. I was like, it's funny now because we have all this. We have Star Wars, we have Marvel, we have Dungeons and Dragons. I had to go through that when that meant you were seriously going to either get beaten or you were going to get told you were going to hell because of Satan. By every single, there was no allies. Like,
So either way, you lose. And you guys, speaking of Dungeons and Dragons, you know what today is?
Gary Gygax's birthday.
Yeah, Gary Gygax Day. Absolutely.
Gary Gygax, man, what a wonderful man.
And speaking of dragons, do you know why they sleep during the day?
I don't know.
Because they eat nights.
That's terrible.
I've been waiting all day to tell that joke. You're welcome.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
As hard as my face hit my palm, that was a good one. I'll give you that.
And you guys know what tomorrow is?
No.
Tomorrow is Chili Cheese Dog Day, just so you're aware.
Yeah.
So make sure you celebrate.
There you go, John. If you want to wear a 3-pier, you got to fit into that.
I mean, I put on a little bit of weight, but I think I can squeeze into it.
This seriously, this is tight for Safi.
I don't even know how that works. Like, it just seems really like even just this, putting your arms over.
No. You can't do that. So when this is all one piece, but normally when she puts this on, there's a bolt here that comes out.
Oh, okay.
A bolt on the other side, and this is a failed piece that I just made a prop. and then there's 2 pins that go in the neck to hold it down. So
so it goes together.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's sandwiched together. Yeah,
I thought you had to put it on like a T-shirt.
no. This and then there's on top of here. There's another ring, and then your shoulder belt, and then your arm. Then you put your arms on.
Yeah, I was studying some 3D files of the protocol droid.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the guide. The ones on Thingiverse are actually some of the better ones, believe it or not. But yeah, it's because there's a really good 000 in New York, but he's really big, like he's like 6'2", so it looks really good. And then when you
Like
stand
a supermodel,
you know, but you can scale it to yourself. I like the wonkiness. Like my only complaint about the new movies is when they 3D printed 3PO, he lost his wonkiness. So if you look in the
because it's all perfectly balanced.
Yeah, it's
symmetrical.
So if you look at how Anthony Daniels stands in the first 3 movies, his shoulder's a little cocked, and it's a weird, and it's the suit. Saffi stands the same way. It's just the suit is a weird, and Saffi's mannerisms as 000 are almost because of the suit. Like her head turn, she's not trying to be like C-3PO. That's how she has to see, like she has to like.
Because she's looking through straws, isn't she?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, now the suit. So I used Gordon Tarplay. He did a 3D printed file of the eyes. That's the only thing 3D printed on her suit. Is he did a cone shape on the inside, so she can see a little better. But the only problem is with the C-3PO is if everything doesn't line up, Saffi just lucks out. Everything perfectly lines up to her eyes. Like when Dan puts his on, his eyes are a little low, so it's a little harder for him to see. So Saffi lines up. Now her shoulders aren't as broad, so she loses a little bit of the arm movement because of her shoulders. But because of her thinner body and because I have the rubber shorts, she can move and walk a lot better than like Dan and stuff. But that's the suit. That's a suit where you have to have not only a handler, you have to have someone like you super trust. Like I don't trust anyone else with Saffi in the suit, because
you have to understand how it all works, and you don't want to run the risk of someone not being able to do what's needed in either in an emergency or whatever.
Well, and I've watched guys like Dan's suit's even more fragile than hers because his is gold plated, and I've watched guys try to help Dan suit up. And it always makes me cringe because people think they watch one person suiting up and they want to throw their hands in and help. And it's a one-person job. And there's no fast way to put a protocol droid on. Like you just take your time and you do it in steps.
Speaking of droids, what's a reasonable price for a pit droid?
The file's $35. So I think a pit droid is 2 spools, but now I don't know if you're allowed to sell pit droids. I don't know how that works. I have a yellow one in the garage that I'm working on right now. But like assembled, the best ones I've seen assembled actually have been done by Marty. To be totally honest with you, because I get tired of doing the print lines. When I do a pit droid, I get about halfway down, like this pit droid's gonna have print lines. I'm sorry, but But that honestly, Ken, if you're dipping your toes into 3D printing, Droid Division and a pit droid would be a good reason to start.
Well, right now I'm just trying to figure out spacing, like geography, where I would put a 3D printer. That's been our biggest hiccup right now.
Yeah, get a nice kitchen island with wheels. You can just roll it into when it's printing, and then just roll it somewhere.
Well, it's the somewhere that
it'll always be running. So, but like Droid Division has some of the nicest files, and his prices are reasonable, and
Yeah, I think his B1 battle droid is, I think it's like $30 or $35.
Yeah, and his files are nice. Like you can get free files of battle droids on Thingiverse. I tried those years ago. They're garbage. Free. Some of the stuff on Thingiverse is free for a reason. But his stuff, what's nice is, at least for all the stuff on Droid Division, they give you a PDF file of paper of all the directions on how to put it together.
Oh wow, okay.
And what screws to buy, everything. Dave Castellano. Are you friends with him on Facebook?
I think so, maybe.
He'd be
the
the
name
one.
sounds very, very familiar.
He'd be the one. He might even have pit droids laying around that he wants to sell, because he's the head of the droid division in this area. So he's the one to talk to about droids. The other one is who's the one that does Chopper? There's a guy who does Chopper files. And the nice thing about Chopper files, the way he has them set, you have to put almost no supports, and it snaps together from the bottom up.
Yeah, I'm not friends with Dave. He's your friend. I didn't.
Yeah, well, add him as a friend. Dave Castellano. He's a good guy. He's close to you too. He's like just right outside of Philly.
Oh,
closer. But now I forget who does the pit droid. But there's a guy who does a pit droid. He does like a subscription service, and his stuff is remarkable. He does his Chopper when you print it and you do the steps. He puts in all the files where you can drop the motors in, and also his Chopper's head will bob back and forth.
Oh, that's very cool.
So, but I gotta think of his name now. Man, I gotta look that up.
Dave's about to get two friend requests from two people he doesn't really know, but it's got several mutual friends.
Yeah, no, Dave's a good guy. And he, like I said, he's the head of. They don't really have a head, but he's one of the moving forward members of the droid division or the droid builders in this area. North, I forget what they call them now. Man, now I got to figure out who. I forget who made the Chopper files though.
Yeah, when it comes to people like that on Facebook, not only do I send a friend request, I also send a little note.
Yeah, Dave. Well, he wants to start, and I don't know if he has yet, but he wants to start a podcast on droid building, because he was asking.
I know he has a
me about
YouTube channel. I just noticed he has a YouTube channel.
Yeah, because I was talking to him about. I was saying he should do a podcast where one of the people in the podcast is super knowledgeable about droid building, and the other person knows almost nothing. So you know what I mean? So you talk about, like, when he talks about something, then he has someone that can ask like the real questions that people like, to put it in layman's terms or whatever. You know what I mean?
The Sesame Street version.
Well, I mean, because like I'm getting better at it, and but I let my programming skills lax. You know what I mean? Michael Badley, that's his name. Michael Badley. I let my programming skills lax, but if you know how to program an Arduino, most of those are run by Arduinos or Raspberry Pi, and the remotes. You guys know what remotes they use for the.
They use like Xbox controllers or something.
They use the old Sony PlayStation, the round ones that look like a little fatter than a hot dog. What are they called, John? Those controllers.
Oh, the move controllers.
Yeah, they use those for the droid.
Really?
So Marty will just run one in his hoodie. He'll just be running his droid with that. You know.
Yeah, if I were to do an astromech droid, I would 100% do R4.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm the kind of person where I don't like doing the mainstream stuff. I like the less known.
See, and what's nice is so Marty has an R4 dome. So his R2, he can just pop his R2 dome off, put his R4 on, and then he has color appliques that go over the blue. Because R4 has blue legs, like R2, in the actual movie.
Wait, hold on. We might be talking about. I'm talking about Obi-Wan's.
Oh
R4.
no, I'm talking about R4. Or I'm talking about the R4 on Tatooine. Was that R4?
Yeah,
that was R5.
R5. I'm talking about R5.
The red one?
Yeah, the red one. R5. Sorry.
The one that had the bad motivator?
Yeah. That's what I'm talking. Well, if you go Michael Badley, he's probably the premier for those kind of droids. And it's spelled Baddley.
Yeah, he's got a whole Facebook group for droid building.
Yeah. His is the premier when it comes to, just because, again, you can go get chopper files. You can go get chopper files on Thingiverse, but they're crap. Or they're not crap. You're just going to spend tons and tons of time to get them ready. Where his are one of those ones that'll get you, Droid division is if you want static droids. If you want a drivable working droid, then you talk to him. Though I still would recommend, if you want to join the droid builders, I would just build a mouse droid first, just to get in the door. That'd be your generic officer uniform of the
even more than a gonk.
Yeah. I'd build the, because the gonk droids can't, because the gonk droids there's a few people that have made a move, but you're gonna go to an event, you're gonna have to carry them in, stand them up, and just stand there. Where if you do a mouse droid, you can drive them around. Like I said, Toga,
from a price standpoint, the gonk's probably a lot cheaper than a mouse droid.
Yeah, but I think you'll get more. I still think you'll get more out of a mouse droid than a gonk, because they can only take so many gonks. Like if the droid builders only have X amount of space, right? And you call and say, "Hey, I'd like to bring my gonk," and John says, "I want to bring my gonk," and some other guy says, "I'd like to bring 2 R2s and a chopper that drives." Guess what? Those gonks are getting pushed. You're getting pushed to the side, But you get
there's always room for gonks.
I know. Well, that's the mascot of my robotics team at school. We have a gonk droid that we built. It's a terrible one, but I don't want to. I tried to let the students do it without me helping. I'd give it an F, but.
Do you spell it Gunk? Because that's not gonk, that's junk.
It's the J is silent.
Oh.
Yeah. Speaking of the generic officer uniforms, that actually reminded me. In the time of my approval, so when I sent my pictures in, the day after a Revenge of the Sith Vader got approved, until I got approved, because that's kind of when I stopped looking at the approval sheet.
Yeah,
there were 4 different Imperial officer costumes that went up on that board. So kind of just bookended by like, all right, Vader, Kylo Ren, officers.
Well, I know a lot of people. Again, whoever wants to do whatever costume, that's wonderful. But I know a lot of people. I've met people that do that to get in. Like, they think it's going to be cheaper, which I don't, especially when you buy the leather boots, you're getting up in the TK.
I'm going to be right back.
Range. Yeah, you're getting in the TK price range when you start buying, the big leather boots and all that stuff. But then there are some people, like I know my friend Chris in Maryland, he did an officer only because when he's a handler, he wears that. So,
See, I want to do a Grand Admiral so bad. I love the white and then the gold shoulders.
Yeah, well, I tell you that whatever the new Anovos company is, that Fennec stuff is really nice. Or not Krennic. The Krennic. That is a nice costume, because you were talking about the price discrepancies. I still think that's just the amount of stuff selling. Like when any company was selling Han jackets and vests, they sell out. Like even like, and if you try to get like there for a while, like when Anovos was actually getting things selling, they couldn't keep in stock Han Solo blaster holster rigs. Like it'd be like in stock, and then literally by the end of the day, out of stock, back ordered. Because I think that's also one of those ones where like a casual person will buy a Han Solo jacket to wear because that's a cool jacket to wear even if you're not in a costuming group. You could wear it as a you could wear it to work, and one person will be like, "Hey, that's a solo jacket,"
Right.
Because they made I forget what company made the Luke's ceremonial jacket,
The yellow one.
and then it went on clearance, and it was you could get that thing for like $50 for a while.
Oh, I wish I could have gotten one for $50. I got a Christmas gift one year of the Poe/Finn leather jacket.
Yeah. Well, there's a company called Black Leather Jacket, right? And it's funny because they sell non-leather jackets. And they make I got the Force Awakens Han Solo jacket to wear to Celebration one year. I think I paid $79 for it.
Huh.
What?
I'm trying to find out. Let's see if it's still around.
Mike, have you seen some of the stuff that Deo Novo has added?
I have. I'm waiting for again. I'm trying to just. They told me that my Sabine helmet will be here this quarter. So anywhere between July and September. So I'm trying to hold my judgment off. If they send me that helmet in place of, the stuff that Anovos, then I will have good things to say about them.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what some of their cloth goods.
I touched the Krennic stuff, and it's nice. It was like heavy, because I was thinking because they're rubies. The company is it's the Rubies is the one that took over, so it's not like they don't know how to make costumes,
Is the name of the company Black Leather Jacket?
It used to be Black Leather Jacket, I think. And they used to have like Star Wars and Marvel and all kinds of stuff.
Oh yeah, it's black-leatherjacket.com.
That's
all one word. And they do have a variety of things available.
Are they $79?
No.
I got Zoe.
You see a $99 one.
Oh, that's not bad. Well, again, this was when did Force Awakens come out? So you see Star Wars.
DJ's trench coat is $249.
Yeah, the Empire Strikes Back Han jacket, that doesn't really look like his because his was not leather.
Yeah, that was cloth.
Yeah.
I think we got the My Chemical Romance Black Parade jacket for $89.
Here we go. Skywalker. Here's Skywalker Bespin jacket. That that can't be right either because that's PL. That should be cloth as well.
Yeah.
So some of these are like faux, like they kind of look like that.
Yeah.
Fakejackets.com.
The one thing I don't like is a lot of the solo jackets, like this solo.
Yeah.
They've got the right material and that suede material, but they don't have the right color.
Yeah.
I either find they're too light or they're too dark.
Yeah.
If I were to buy a jacket, I would try to buy a jacket that George Lucas wore in the Light and Magic documentary.
Oh, there you go.
With the fur on it.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one that I want to get.
Yeah.
Well, I see the yellow jacket.
Well, yeah, but a lot of these prop places now make stuff pretty decent. For your soft goods. You just have to do some finagling. Because it used to be you had to go to Wampa Wear. If you wanted a jumpsuit for your pilot or your officers or something or whatever deck, whatever. Because we had a scanning crew in our garrison for a while. You know, the scanning crew that got killed in New Hope. We had some people that did the scanning crew costume.
Really?
Yeah. Which again, that's, you know, you do whatever costume you want, but like, you know, again there's some. I'm still. I think I still want to do a pilot of some sort. I just haven't decided if I want to do. I like the bluish colored guys from Rogue One.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Like that looks, you know.
I don't like the only thing I don't like about the blue squadron is I don't like the tan flak vests.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
I think the white looks better in my opinion, but I mean to each their own.
But I also see but I haven't decided if I just want to do a TIE pilot.
You got to join Rebel Legion.
Yeah, I know, but I do. If I join Rebel Legion, I think I'd do a Mando. I'd love to do the Mandalorian. I just have to drop another 20 pounds.
Well, just do Boba Fett.
Yeah, man, Boba Fett. I've thought I bought a Boba Fett helmet. I have Boba Fett.
I don't mean like the original trilogy Boba Fett. I'm talking dad bod Boba Fett.
No, I have that one. That one's like started. That one's sitting there.
What do you mean started? You've got all of the hard parts.
Yeah,
done.
I got all the hard parts. I just haven't decided what soft parts because they changed it so many times. Like you watched, it was totally different in the Mandalorian itself. I still like the one when he went to the prison planet and picked up what's his face.
Bill Burr's character.
Yeah.
I love him. I love Miggs Mayfield.
Hey, that's we were talking about doing. I heard you saying we should do a group of costumes together.
Yes, as a matter of fact, yes.
You know what would be a good group? Those tank drivers.
The hover tank drivers
that were in that episode. The tank, you know, like because it's a good combo of soft and because when you guys were saying that, the two things that came to mind in my head because they'd be doable and they'd be not too crazy because we can 3D print most of it would be the tank drivers or whatever, those transport drivers and or shore troopers.
The only problem I have with the shore troopers is they've got the same problem I have with the first order TKs is you've got a little too much rubber on those.
Wait,
because
what rubber?
In the joints there's rubber gaskets.
Like on the shore trooper?
I'm fairly certain then. Because I think I've seen flight suits where they've got like the ribbed rubber gaskets.
Yeah, that's I gotta look that up now.
You sure that's not just an undersuit?
You know what? Either that or which that would be. So that's when I heard you guys talking. I thought, okay, that would be because we could do. That'd be an easy set that we could start because you could do the grunt, you could do the officers, you do all that. But the other thing is, I'm looking here. Shirt. Horizontal ribbing at arms and torso. It doesn't say it has to be rubber though, but it does need horizontal ribbing. Okay. Except then when they show you the picture, this is what drives. I love the CRLs, but I hate when they show you the picture and it has nothing to do with what they just told you in the. So.
Oh, please share so we can all enjoy.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
So I can give you some horizontal ribbing at this.
Yes. Here.
Nice picture.
Let's see. Here. So here it tells you here horizontal ribbing at arms and torso, right? Then I look at this picture, I'm like, where's the horizontal ribbing of any sort? I guess that's what they mean, is just cloth, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was thinking
that's a really weird top.
Yeah, well, it looks like someone made it to so the armor, so it was cool, like it was open, so you put your armor over it. It's like if you ever see some of the guys with Vader, they get the whole back of the suit cut out and put netting in it.
Oh, okay.
So
Never
the
thought
whole
of that.
back is just netting, because and then you know, 'cause you don't see the back because you have two capes. You have an under cape and an over cape.
Hmm.
But
That
I
makes
was
sense.
thinking of I was thinking of that. I was thinking of the tank drivers, you know, any of the tank drivers, or they even, you know, or if we looked at some of the bounty hunters,
Yeah, Band of Bounty
Mm.
Hunters would be fun.
because you could do, I mean, you could do Bosk, which would probably be the tougher one to do. You could
No, see
do,
where I was going with the idea of a group would be some of the lower impact costumes.
yeah.
I mean, with the mods, I mean, yeah, you've got the fancy clothes, the dapper gear, but it's not as labor intensive as a whole set of armor or anything like that.
We just
Or
do
latex.
like a Tatooine villager, or the biker gang.
Oh, the Cloud
Yeah,
Riders?
Yeah. And then, but it could be the Falcon Riders, and then have a inflatable Falcon Riders.
We could come up with a cool logo that we spray paint on everything.
Yeah.
Jean jackets with some sort of symbol on the back.
Just make sure there's no zippers.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we don't need another zipper kerfuffle.
Zippergate.
Yeah. Or we could just do a whole bunch of Wilro hoods. Which, John, you found the CRL for Wilro?
I did, and I'm very surprised that there is like a whole CRL for him.
Oh, it's pretty involved too.
Yeah.
I think it even has something about his mustache.
Dude,
Oh,
when
yes.
I was trying to get in on the Wilro Hood run at Celebration, and they wouldn't, unless you were a person that was in the group and had a approved costume, they would not tell you the time or where the Wilro Hood run was.
And this goes right back to what we were talking about with the elitism of
Yeah.
costuming.
Because I was just going to take 2 orange jumpsuits and a you know, a dollar store mustache, you know. Because one year they used to, for Star Wars weekends, they used to let 500 first people could march in the Star Wars weekends, and you get free tickets. And I guess one year someone went as Wilro Hood, and they were in blackface.
Oh, Jesus.
So they said nope, no. Disney had to say no more blackface, please. Which, you know, you'd think, you know,
Even though they have Splash Mountain.
I guess, but yeah, that was the, you know, so. But yeah, the Wilro Hood CRL it's well, and then there's the CRLs for all the people of Shadow of the Empire. You know, because Marty has the only Snuva, I believe.
Is it approved?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah,
Is he the long-nosed guy in A New Hope?
No. He's the Wookiee that Chewie's dressed up as. Bounty hunter.
Okay.
And with like a flat top.
From the expanded universe. Okay.
Yeah, from the, you know.
I'm such a fake fan. I get my characters mixed up.
Yeah, that was Marty has that one. He I don't think he wears it anymore, but he has that, because that mask is sitting. He has Chewie masks all over the place. Like I have Stormtrooper helmets. He has like Chewie heads everywhere.
Now, isn't that one though that he just swaps the mask and it takes off the bandolier and he's done?
The mask, and I think he has to wear like a different. I think stuff like that. But see, a lot of that stuff, like I don't think that mask is as comfortable, because that's based off one of his old masks, like he made that years ago. But also like his bandolier and a lot of that stuff, it's all kind of balanced, you know. Like, so when you get out of kilter a little bit.
What was Saw Gerrera's band of characters called?
I don't know, but that's another one,
because that's another group that we could think about.
Yeah, well, even the Rebels too. Like the Rebels in And the only thing with the Rebels in Rogue One, out of Star Wars, they don't look Star Wars. Like they look Star Wars in a Star Wars movie. But if you took 2 steps over, you'd be like, "Are you guys just army guys? Are you with the GI Joe cosplay group?"
America's
Which,
finest.
yeah,
The
that was a fun.
Partisans. That's what
That was
they're
a
called.
fun group, wasn't it?
Oh my goodness, yeah. Saw's group is called the Partisans.
Yeah, okay. That's what the French. That's the French from World War II that fought the Nazis. And they had that French gun. You know what? That's one of the guns that Mando carries. That little tiny pistol.
Yeah.
The holdout pistol?
Yeah, well, it's not really. Yeah, but that was like in World War II. They give them to the French resistance, and it could shoot 1 bullet or something like that. You were supposed to shoot a German and take his weapon.
Yep.
Because they were stamped metal, and I think they threw them out of airplanes and stuff.
I never understood how they thought those were going to be effective.
You only have to shoot once, man.
Right, but I mean the caliber is so small. I mean, proper
I know.
armor,
I think.
and
Huh?
proper body armor, and I mean,
But I think that was those things only worked because the French were unarmed. So if you think your populace is unarmed, you're not looking for a gun.
yeah, good point.
Because I mean, it's the 501st and the Rebel Legion run into this because we have prop weapons, and we take it for granted in this country. But some countries you can't even have props, and I know we sometimes as cosplayers or 501st members, we run into more restrictions with bringing prop weapons to certain areas than you would a real weapon. Just because there's no permit for like a fake gun.
Right.
Now the Mandos, they got the best weapons. I've seen at Frank's house, man. It looks like a Nerf gun, and you're like, that's never going to look like a prop weapon. And then you'll see Frank and those guys get at it, and you're like, oh, that is like the coolest. That is the coolest weapon I've ever seen.
The best way to make a Nerf gun into a Star Wars weapon is add 16 scopes.
16 scopes and some flat paint.
Yep.
I don't know.
'Cause
I can't wait to go to a con and just have someone tag my lightsaber. I've heard so many stories about that where they're like, yeah, I went and they were tagging all the weapons, and I still got a zip tie on my lightsaber.
I think at Celebration it was more of a tongue-in-cheek thing. Like I think it was like almost it was kind of just like a funny, like they seemed like they were having more fun with that part than anything else.
Yeah.
Well, at Fan Expo, my pole sword was tagged, and they didn't do zip ties. They just did blue painter's tape.
See, I would actually at that point I would rather a zip tie, because I've had bad experience with painter's tape.
They zip tied Zoe's blasters too. When her Sabine blasters were just blocks of wood, they were like, okay. One of them was left at Aaron Scare, so someone got a blaster at Aaron Scare. She lost the wooden. That's what made us move to new holsters and everything. I was like, because I can't recreate these, because her original holsters are made from cereal boxes. The holsters on this here, they're made from cereal boxes.
Wrapped in leather.
Come with fake leather, yeah. Because when I made her first costume, I took still shots of Sabine, and I took still shots of her hand with the blaster, and I measured everything off of Sabine's hand. So I was like, okay, look, from this part of her hand to this, that's how long the blaster is. And then I took Zoe's hand, and I scaled everything off. That was my ruler to get the proportions right. Because I've in the past, and you probably know more about this than anyone can, but the Sabines I've seen, they over armor, like they don't scale. So it looks like if you'll have a Sabine and she'll be slightly smaller than Zoe, but she'll have armor that runs from here to here. No one takes the time to.
Yeah, they don't bother to do that. They just either print out a template, or if they could 3D print something, they'll just 3D print whatever. They don't,
Yeah.
like you said, they don't do the scaling down to make this armor fit my body.
And Sabine's armor has to be slight. It's just how you get the attitude of how Sabine stands. If the armor's taking that away, then it doesn't. I don't want to knock anyone's how to do it, but that's just me. I just like silhouettes of how things look when you're taking a picture. When they stand. And
yeah, well, that's the problem I had with Din when I first did my armor. Is my chest and my ab plate were far too wide for my body. So then, of course, I found the Armor Smith application and fixed that problem right up.
Nice. I just scale everything in Cura. I cut it in FlashForge and scale it in Cura.
Well, see, I didn't have when I first printed my armor, I printed everything on my Ender 3. So it was like, okay, cool. We're cutting everything into several different pieces to try and make this work.
Yeah.
So thankfully now I've got my CR10s where it's like, okay, cool. I can print an entire helmet in one go if I really wanted to.
Yep.
I did. There was not a single piece when I redid my Din armor where I'm like, all right, well, I guess I have to slice this into 2 pieces.
Yeah.
So yeah, everything was done in one piece and all in one go.
Well, that's a nice thing now. And even was it at the armor party, Ken? They have a whole book of templates when you guys have armor parties?
Well, it depends on whose party you go to. So you can get the templates from the Mandalorian Mercs forum, and one of the things that we've found at the armor parties, instead of telling someone that here's where you go to get it, we have the different sizes, and the sizes are generic based on height.
Yeah.
So you're about 5'6", then and this was before they had the post Imperial armor, because the post Imperial armor has a lot more variations to it, but the Django and the Boba Fett armor, the 5 pieces, it was easier just to print out the templates and say, here, 5'6", use these, 5'9", use these.
They are very generic, to say the least. I printed the 5'9" and I still look too broad.
Yeah. Well, that's your football days. I'm gonna have to do a back. I got to do a back piece for Sabine, for live action Sabine.
Oh, they finally gave her a back plate?
Just on the live action one, but that's all I remember from all those pictures I was seeing. So I gotta figure out because the Bo-Katan armor that I downloaded for the new Bo-Katan for her time on Mando, she doesn't have a back plate. So.
What are you trying to tell me? You didn't take a mental image and save that into your data
but
bank?
me and Zoe were running on like 2 hours of sleep for the whole week. So
I don't know about you, John, but I'm hearing lots of excuses.
My mental images, the 2 I remember the back plate, and I remember the holster accoutrements of, because Sabine has those weird holsters and stuff. And I was like, oh, they're just going to be like Bo-Katans, and they weren't quite the same as Bo-Katans. I was like, oh, man.
Does she have her spray paint gun in that costume?
I didn't see the spray paint gun, which that spray paint gun I hate, because it just appears and disappears. Like she doesn't wear it on her belt. It doesn't,
That's animation.
Yeah. Oh my! I was so glad when she went to the heavy belt, when she went to because the communicator just stuck on her gun belt in season 1. Like there was no, so we just put a piece of elastic around it and she could slide it in there. We used to lose communicators all the time. So then when she goes to the heavy armor with the 2 belts, there's actually a spot for it.
I'm surprised you didn't use like a flashlight clip.
No, there's no clip. You can't have a clip. It has to just stick there. So like we took a black, so when it was stuck there, you couldn't see the rubber band, like the hair tie holding it.
Oh,
on.
Gotcha.
But it usually got lost. It was like, because at one point I was just going to drill through the belt and just drill right into it, just have it sticking there.
So it didn't come off.
Yeah, just like, But then you always get that one kid. Can I hold your communicator? So.
Well, that's when you have an extra one in a pocket.
Yeah, she can't have pockets either.
I'm not saying her pocket. That's why she has a handler. Come on.
I know.
Let's
Well,
balance the responsibility.
when she first started doing Sabine, I was always a TK. I was always in my TK with her. So because her and Safi was a Tuscan, so they didn't really need handlers. And then when Safi moved to 000, that's when I had to curtail some of my trooping.
Speaking of pockets, did I tell you guys that I stumbled across the fact that my Kylo has back pockets?
No.
Do you know how
You
much
were
of a
gonna keep
leap
this a
that
secret
is?
from us?
Well, okay. Obviously, I'm a nicotine addict as it is. If I don't have it on me, I panic. And then also having my phone, just being able to have my phone nearby,
Yeah.
that's all the assurances I need. I guess I
Nice.
should say I should keep my wallet on me, but there's no money in it anyway. So
Yeah. So
Yeah, but you need your license in case you get carded.
ow.
well, so when when just make sure you just need to make sure you figure out your costuming way you store your stuff in your tote. Like just that's where you want to like I've seen so many costumes ruined by people in a hurry. And when you put it away, you should just have in your mindset, this is how it goes in, no matter what, you know.
Yeah,
That's why
I think just unpacking it from how Marty had it, I
Mhm.
think and obviously taking it on, putting it away, all that jazz. I think I've gotten it mostly figured out as to
Good.
what a good order is, so nothing gets crushed, nothing gets creased or ruined.
That's why I still love the big totes. Your tote is a good size, but I like I mainly because when I used to troop with 3 people. So I always needed totes that I could sit on or stand on that wouldn't crush because we had to shove them in a car, and stuff like that. And
I'm still surprised and grateful that Marty was so kind as to include the tote. I was expecting a cardboard box at best.
I mean, you should see all the totes Marty has, man. His one stormtrooper is nice. It's painted. It's automotive painted. I forget the company, but it's like one of the most accurate. And his helmet is I think it's a one-piece fiberglass helmet. Like that he bought some and he got it all paint. It's like high gloss white. It's the one where a couple months ago I put a picture of Safi was wearing it.
Oh, I didn't realize that was all painted because I know which one you're talking about now.
Yeah, that's all painted. The only problem with painting it, the belt has little cracks in it because it flexes.
Right.
Even though he painted it with flexible paint. So that's the only problem with that costume. But I think he
The
made
parts don't rub the paint off.
No, because there's no rubbing on that suit. That suit is like custom fit, and it's you know what I mean. Like
Yeah, but I mean even just from walking around at a convention and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I mean it's and it fits Safi too. It fit her perfect. Like it was because Marty's a lot thinner than I am, and most of my rubbing is not due to the costume. It's just due to me.
Does Safi still want to do a TK?
She does. She mentioned it, but I also know that girl. She'll do a TK, but if she wants to do a TK, I'm gonna have to take the TK and a droid because you don't get the same reaction even on a bad day. 000 gets,
Oh goodness,
swamped.
Well, not only that, 000 just gets a different because 000 even the people that don't know who they are, it's a droid, so it's cool. But the people who know who 000 is, that's the really cool reaction. Because it's always that one person like, I gotta take a picture of this for my friend who loves Dr. Aphra. You know what I mean?
Well, it's the same kind of reaction that some of the bigger the Vaders and the Kylos and the Leias get.
I can't wait to have my Vader done.
I can't wait for us to troop together. Yeah. That's what I'm most excited for.
That's I think for me, December Steel City is a good place to shoot for because it's far enough away that I got to get Zoe off to school here in a couple weeks and all that crap, and then school's back in somewhat normal, and my life is because September August and September is tough for me because I'll get a whole year's worth of crap thrown at me in like 3 days, and then you have to.
Well, let's start putting the plans together. I mean, even if you don't have a costume, you don't have the Vader costume.
Yeah.
Let's make some arrangements so that the three of us can go to that event together. I think it'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna as soon as they announce it, I'll book my hotel. As soon as because worst case is something happens and I can't go, I can always cancel it. But you have to stay at the DoubleTree.
Yeah,
it's because 90% of what you're going to do is going to not be in Steel City. It's going to be at the DoubleTree or walking around,
And that might be one of the events that I go to in costume, but don't worry about, connecting with the Pennsylvania Mandalorian group. Because I don't even know if they go all the way out there.
Yeah,
I mean, I know that they have members on the
Star
west side of-
Killer's laid back. They're cool with all that stuff. And what's nice about it is you have to pay to get in the convention, even if you troop it. They don't get any free passes, so you just go.
Yeah, but I wouldn't imagine that it would be as expensive as, let's say, the New York City Comic-Con or something.
Oh no,
like
what is it, like $40 for 3 days or something like that?
yeah, 39 plus tax.
39 plus tax for 3 days, and if you buy the 3-day, you get in like an hour early.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you, the funny thing about that one is Sunday is almost my favorite day because I rarely make it on Friday because I got to work. So I usually I buy the 3-day ticket, but I normally just get there Saturday.
Well,
But
it's still
Sunday-
cheaper.
Yeah, I know. But Sunday is nice because everyone's hungover. So if you go early Sunday morning, a lot of the people that are not hungover, the guests are there. So that's when I got to talk to Henry Winkler and got to just, you know what I mean? When I got photobombed by Debbie Gibson, so.
Yeah. The only wrench that could, because I know it's usually the second weekend.
Yeah.
The only wrench that could potentially be thrown in is if it is the third weekend.
Yeah.
Because in that event, I would only be able to go Friday, Saturday. Because the Browns, look, my life from August until February revolves around the NFL schedule and how forgiving it is. But if it's the second, third, fourth, Browns play in Houston. I'm not worried about missing that game. The most likely is it's 9, 10, 11, which I won't be thrilled because they play in Cincinnati, and that's a divisional game. And it's the battle for Ohio. It's the last of the year for the Battle of Ohio, and that's a big game. So I won't be thrilled about missing it, but I would for Steel City.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's the 18th, it's the Browns at. Wait a minute, I thought that was a Monday night game. Hold on, wait a minute. I have their whole schedule in my calendar. Oh, that's right. Actually, it would be even worse if it is the whatever that is, the 18, 19, 20, the third weekend.
Yeah.
Because that game is, or no, I'm sorry, it's the 16th, 17th, 18th. Because that's a flex game. So that could be either Saturday or Sunday at any time.
Well, yeah, it's usually the second one. It depends. The other one is if they open up Aaron Scare.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Scare is another one that's and any at the Oaks. But I don't know where to stay if they have any ones at the Oaks.
The Oaks, there's a hotel right across this, and from what I remember, really close by there.
But usually isn't most of the Oaks stuff, they don't really have as many guests, I don't think, as like Steel City.
Oh, and from what you're telling me, everything that happens at the Oaks is much, much, much smaller than the Steel City con.
Yeah, well, Steel City, you're just kind of stuck there. Like you're in the town of whatever. What is that? Monroeville?
Yep.
But that's not like there's nothing else to do. There's a mall right next to it the
Oaks is the same way. I mean, it's
a mall that's half shut down. Let's not give it too much credit here.
That's true. But also the thing with the Oaks is all the talent stays in that one hotel. Like, so if you hang at the bar, you're going to hang with somebody,
Yeah.
No, are you talking Steel City, you mean?
Yeah, Steel City.
Yeah, because the Oaks, I'm thinking, well, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I remember that Friday night. I mean, because I remember last year I had to leave.
Mhm.
Was it a Browns game? Why did I have to leave last year?
I don't know.
It's probably a Browns game. Either way, um, it. I just remember the bar Friday night when you and Marty got in, and it was packed, and there weren't even
Mhm.
any. I didn't even see any celebrities or any
Yeah,
guests.
yeah, that was a good one though.
Well, I also think the not to sound snooty, but I'm not sure if RetroCon or some of these other cons at the Oaks have the same stature of guests.
Right, right. And they seem to be piling guests in the Steel City. My God, the amount of guests they have, they must each get like a half a table because they just keep piling guests in.
Have you seen the August lineup?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Jesus Christ, they are. I mean, I love Steel City. Don't get me wrong; it's probably my favorite convention I've been to. However, the absurd amount of guests that they have, it's like, where are you putting all of them? Like, you
What?
either have to cut off part of Artist Alley to make room for these guests,
Yeah.
or you better stagger them throughout the weekend.
Well, I think they also that one side room, they might put more in there instead of doing the big long lines. They're going to have to.
Well, I'm surprised they don't do more panels.
Yeah,
at Steel City.
Well, see, I think their new owners here. Look, let me see if I can pull this list up. Look at this. Here's the
Ken, be prepared.
Yeah, that's for August.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying like Paul Abdul is going to be there.
Hold on, you're gonna just brush past Danny Trejo?
Oh yeah, Danny Trejo. Where are you at? Well, even here, even Will Wheaton and Zachary Levi from Shazam.
Hold on, Ric Flair is gonna be there?
Yeah, they just announced him.
Woo!
I wasn't going to really do that because it would probably embarrass me.
I don't care about the features artist, but
come on, you're only going there for Wayne Knight. Who are you kidding?
Well, they're getting the old owners. The funny thing with the old owners was they would always put the press picture up, and some of those people would show up, and you're like, that doesn't look like, because it'd be like the lady who played I Dream of Jeannie, but it'd be her picture from when she was actually playing I Dream of Jeannie, and you're like, wait a minute, And Henry Winkler would be a picture of him as the Fonz. But like when Anthony Daniels was there, he was at the end. His line went, John, that main alley that goes in the front doors, his line went straight almost like out the door for when Anthony Daniels was there.
I mean, it makes sense, but god damn.
I can't get over some of the prices though for some of this stuff.
I don't. Are they good or bad?
Well, Zachary Levi is $150 for a photo op.
Yeah, but that's the pro photo op. Like that's they take you in and they take the some
even
these,
in
well, his autograph's 125, so his selfie is probably 125. But see, he has a movie out. Like he's like there for a while. They only got B rate, but here like Will Wheaton, I don't even collect autographs, and I would probably get a photo with him for $60 because he does
before you would meet Joey Fatone. Come on.
No, because he does the Dungeons and Dragons critical hit or critical role, the podcast.
Yep.
Like Danny Trejo's only $75. Now that picture's a little old.
Ric Flair's only 80 to 150, but
I mean, we'd have to get a picture. If we went to that one, we'd have to get it with Danny Trejo because he's the Rancor keeper. Come on now.
Yeah, Mike, you'd have to get your Boba Fett done.
I know, but the bad part is we got stuck in the elevator with the girl from Back to the Future. Leah Thompson? Is that who it is? Who was the lady from Back to the Future? Leah Thompson?
Yeah, I think so.
And Marty and I got in the elevator with her, and we were riding down, and I forgot to say, hey, this is my friend Marty. He has a DeLorean. I can't believe I let that slip.
Oh, my God.
You're a bad friend.
I know.
Cooper Andrews he was in Star Wars, wasn't he?
I don't know who he is. Well, anyhow, while we want, so we'll know what the December lineup is. Actually, the day after. I mean, if you go to Steel City, they'll have the lineup. But I think we can call the Falcon though tonight.
Wait a minute. No. We cannot until you tell us the updates. Either John or Mike tell us what's going on with getting them on here.
I emailed them again and have heard nothing back.
I've heard nothing either. And I honestly, I got sidetracked because I have to I've been watching a whole bunch of videos on how to install a brand new air conditioning system in my Scion, and it just came yesterday. So I have to tomorrow and Friday. I'm tearing the whole front of my car off and putting a new air conditioning system in.
That sounds riveting.
Yeah, it's a whole bunch of 10mm bolts, buddy.
Don't lose your 10mm socket.
Dude, I've worked
Put
on
them in
Volkswagen.
a Volkswagen. You'll be fine.
I've worked on Volkswagen since the 80s. I have more 10mm sockets than anybody because every other bolt on a Volkswagen is 10mm.
Hey, don't discount General Motors there. Everything is 10mm there too.
But yeah, I have to take the whole front end off. It looks like it's an easy job, but it's a tedious job because I have to take the bumper off, and then I have to take the grill, and then I have to take the compressor and condenser and all that crap off. Luckily, my system's empty, so I don't have to go get it drained.
That's good.
And then I have to figure out how to flush it, and I have to figure out how to charge it. But YouTube has been my friend.
I think charging it should be fairly easy.
Well, you have to. So I bought an air pump. You have to run this one air pump through it to make sure you get all the moisture out of the system.
Mm-hmm.
And then they do recommend this cleaner that you blow through it to get all the oil out. It's like $20. And then I'll probably just buy a gauge system because the gauge system's like $39 at Harbor Freight. And the garage wants to charge me more to put them on the gauge than it cost me to buy the gauges. So I'm like, okay. And
Well,
yeah, then I just got.
Don't you just get the Freon in a can that has a gauge on it?
Yeah, but you have to know how much to put in. Like you can't when it's completely empty. When you get one of those Freons in a can, that's more just topping it off.
Gotcha.
So we'll see. I could just wind up doing that. I could get it all together and just be, screw it. I'm just going to keep pumping these cans in until it's cold. So as long as my clutch doesn't.
Just remember what you told us the last couple of times when you were working on cars that you imagined.
Oh yeah,
Chewbacca was right there, or Han was helping you.
That's what gets me through, except for this excruciating heat. That's the only thing that's.
Hey,
and you said you're doing that tomorrow,
Tatooine.
Huh? Well, I don't know what the temperature is going to be tomorrow, so I'll probably look at the temperature. Because the problem is I can't pull my car all the way in the garage, just because of all the crap I have in my garage. So I have to have the garage door open, and so I'll be baking. But I don't have to jack the car up. And then I got to see Marty, and he just got all his DeLorean parts. I got to rebuild the clutch slave cylinder and do a couple things on the DeLorean too.
On a rear engine car. Sounds fantastic.
Well, the clutch slave cylinder's in the firewall right behind the pedal.
Really?
It's like the old BMWs. Like I had a BMW 202 75, and it's right. There's actually an arm on the pedal that pushes into, looks like an old-timey master cylinder. That's the slave cylinder that then runs to a fluid pump to a master cylinder on the transmission. Yep, exactly. Okay. It's a DeLorean. It's a DeLorean. Yeah. A very nice DeLorean, though.
It's so clean. Granted, it's stainless steel, but
it is 30,000 miles on it.
I would hope so. I mean,
it's
Look, as someone in the Corvette realm now,
yeah,
and knowing of it from my dad, just being obsessed with them, I hate the people who are like, oh, it's a car. These are collector's items. You shouldn't put too many miles on them. But I've always been in the camp of, you buy a car to drive it. The DeLoreans are the ones where I'm like, I would be weary about how many miles I put on it.
Dude, it's uncomfortable to sit in.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's disappointing.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's nice, like it has room and stuff, but it's.
Well, it was built at a different time.
Yeah,
When comfort was thought of differently than it is now. I mean, now
Yeah.
you buy a car that has heated and air conditioned seats
Yeah.
with a display panel on some of the dashboards that are bigger than our TVs that we had when we were growing up.
Yep. Well, and the one thing I do like about the DeLorean, I still think the DeLorean, I might have said this last time we talked about it, I think it's one of those few things that is literally a stamp in time. Like you know, there's certain items you pick up, you know what I mean? Like the old Atari game system, like the first one, whether you were an Atari person or not, that's like that's almost like a time capsule of what was going on. And the DeLorean is one of those as well.
Mhm.
I'm surprised that more companies didn't make stainless steel cars, though.
Well, I think wasn't there like a whole like political thing around the DeLorean too, and what in terms of why it wasn't more popular than it was?
Yeah, well, and then he got busted for drugs, and then he built it in Ireland, and there was some stuff about like I don't know if it was he built it in part of Northern Ireland, not at the best time. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, so there's
like,
I always find that part of stories so intriguing. Like if you not about DeLoreans, but if you look at things like why marijuana became such
yeah,
horrible thing in the United States. I took a class when I was an undergrad called Drugs Across Cultures, and
mhm.
they examined some of those aspects of the criminalization of drugs. So it's just interesting when you think of cars or other kind of things and the other parts of their stories beyond just the design and manufacture of them.
Well, and I think the plus side to now, and it kind of goes with how George Lucas built Star Wars in the sense that George Lucas was aware of way more things than people realize. Like if you look at just some of the costume choices and you know like the cultural things I don't want to say he appropriated, but the cultural things he put touchstones in Star Wars to make them seem real. You know, like Leia's hair based on the freedom fighters from what was it, South America somewhere, all that kind of stuff. Then it goes back, and then you see people like John DeLorean, or you see people that are just so unaware of what's going on in the world, and it for some reason in this country we've been taught if you have tons of money, that means you worked hard, so you must be smart. For years, that's what I was taught. You know, you work hard, and if you don't have enough, it's because you didn't work hard enough. And if this guy, and so no one said, well, the rich guy worked harder than you, but you took two and two and made it four. You know, because if they're telling me if I don't work hard, I'll be poor, that means anyone that's rich must have worked hard and must be smart and all this. And then when you actually look at history and you see how things are, and you see people just unaware of their world, sometimes the younger generation now, they're the ones that are keeping track of things. It makes me feel good about the world because they are trying to at least balance all the knowledge and what they do. Not all of them, you know, but the ones trying to do things. Like I think of my real dad. He decided to quit school and sign up for the army in 1966. And his mother, unaware of what was going on, signed the paper for him to join the military at 16 in 1966. If they would have just picked up a newspaper and realized you probably shouldn't join the infantry in 1966 because they're sending you to Vietnam. You know what I mean? So,
Mike, I wouldn't feel too good about the younger generation. There are a fair amount of people my age who their philosophy is eat the rich. So,
yeah, but I understand that, but I also think the rich of today are way different than the rich of canonized time. We have a whole group of people who don't. It used to be if you owned like I don't want to pick on any store, but let's just pick on Walmart. It used when I was a kid, if a store like Walmart came into the town, everyone would have been clamoring for jobs, and everyone would have got a job there and made a good living. We've somehow flipped the narrative where these companies and these big people can make tons of money and pull it out of our community. And I think that people your age that say eat the rich, they're just tired of that. They're tired of like siphoning. Like when I was a kid, you could work at Acme as a bag or a checker, and you wouldn't be rich, but you could have a house, you could have a car, you could send your kids to to school. Now you can't do that.
Well, also too, I think it's interesting to think about what people do today to get rich.
Yeah.
So there are some folks who take a game and they perfect their skills at that game. So you were talking about the Browns earlier. Think about how many of those grown adults who are getting paid millions, plural, for playing a game. And then you also have some folks who make thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, for taking photographs and creating videos and posting it on the TikToks and the YouTubes and things. So there are multiple ways now of creating that rich, but you don't hear about, John, you said your generation talks about eating the rich. You don't hear about them, eating Logan Paul or Jake Paul or one of them. There are folks who strive to be like them because of how they acquired their wealth. And what I, also thinking about generational differences. So I graduated with a master's degree in 2001. And I also have a bachelor's degree and an associate's degree. So in 2001, I had 3 college degrees. And one of my first jobs after earning those 3 degrees was working in a big box store for $11 an hour. And I got promoted up to making $13 an hour. My youngest stepson is now working for a grocery store across the street he's a junior in high school. Guess how much money he's making as a junior in high school, working at a grocery store, getting carts from the lot or working as a cashier?
Well, it's New Jersey, so I can only imagine it's $15 an hour.
Not yet. He's making 13.
Jesus.
So a junior in high school is making the same amount per hour that I made in 2001 or so with 3 college degrees.
You want to know the funny part about that, though? So a junior in high school is making very similar money to what I make doing what I do. I sell cars, and I barely crack $15 an hour.
Well, yeah. I see. I worked in a restaurant in the 80s when I went to college. And so I made double minimum wage because back then it was before LLCs existed. It was a family-owned business that made $6 million a year in restaurant, and they paid us well. The last year I was there, they were bought out as an LLC. Every year I worked there, I got an $800 or more bonus at Christmas as a part-time dishwasher. An $1986. I got an $800 bonus. That was a whole semester of college paid for. When the LLC took over, we got steak knives for Christmas.
So you can eat the rich.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Hey, I feel your pain. When I worked for the movie theater, all the assistant managers got gifts. And all of the senior assistant managers and the general managers also got gifts, but they were monetary. So one year, actually, I've got it right here. I got a Cinemark branded backpack with Cinemark branded liner.
Oh, nice.
The senior assistant got a $5,000 bonus, and the general manager got a bonus that it was too large for him to admit.
Oh, I like that kind of bonus.
Right.
Well, I went to my first Cinemark a couple weeks ago. We just got one in Lancaster.
Were you treated like dirt? Because I know I was.
No, it wasn't that nice. I thought it was going to be nicer than it was. I thought it was. We have what are the theaters where you eat at?
That bistro.
I forget what they're called. We have one of those. I thought it looks like one of those from the outside, but it wasn't. We saw Solo. Like I lucked out because I got to see Solo like 6 times. I trooped it like 6 times when Solo came out, and I got to see it in a drive-in and a regular theater, and I got to see it in one of those places. And the place where you eat was pretty cool because they brought you food. And since I had already seen Solo, I didn't really care but if I had never seen Solo before, I would have found that off-putting.
Yeah, no, that's a bistro. That's what they're called. If you're thinking of the chain movie tavern,
yeah, that's what they call it, a movie tavern. It's Exton Movie Tavern.
Yeah, the like actual term for it is a bistro, because we Cinemark so the theater that I worked at, it used to be, we were a first run theater, so everything that came out we would get first, and then when it made it through its cycles, it would go down the road. I shit you not, a quarter mile down the road, it was another Cinemark theater. It was a second run. It was a dollar theater. So they had like times where it was like 75 cents, $1 to go see a movie. But it was like 2-3 months after it had come out.
Right.
When they found out that was a horribly unprofitable business, because you still have to pay, I think at that point it was like 75% of the ticket costs. No, first run, it was 80% of the ticket cost goes back to the distributor for the first 4 weeks. And then it drops down to 70%. And I think by the time it got to them, it was like 50. Yeah, the weird things you learn when you work at a movie theater. But so when they realized like they're making no money, they converted that into a first run bistro, which now that's where I go to see all my movies, because I can't go back to the theater that I used to work at. But yeah, I love it there. First off, they've got fantastic food. I will say that the Cinemark menu, once it gets back to where it was pre-COVID, is phenomenal. They have a mushroom Swiss burger with a garlic aioli. Oh, I'm hungry.
Yeah, I just remember they had some vegan food, so I was happy they had vegan food. They fed us for free because we trooped it. So
popcorn's vegan, isn't it?
Depends.
Yeah.
If it has
without the butter.
If it has real butter, no. But most use an oil flavored butter.
Yeah.
So I'm good with that. When it says, because we went to a theater in Hershey, PA, Anvil, actually. It's a restored theater from the 50s. That's where we saw one of the last 2 Star Wars. I forget which one it was. Me and Safi trooped it. And their popcorn was real butter, so I couldn't have it. But it was one of those big sloping theaters where
okay.
Yeah.
We changed. It was an old bowling alley next to it that was closed. So Safi, it was December. She had to change in 000. It was like 30 degrees out.
I'm sure in a resin cast suit, that was probably.
Well, she was cold until she got it on. That suit heats up, man. That suit heats up because there's no body heat gets out. Like there's no space for it to get out. Like there's little tiny cracks at her knees and her arms, but the rest she's sealed in. It comes right out her neck. Like next time, yeah, it's but no, I mean, I can't wait till trooping gets back more, where we get more. Like we have a Phillies game that I'm debating on trooping. It's weird because all the troops I want to do are the weekend. Zoe's leaving, so I got to be careful with what I schedule, because they just moved her apartment down the road, so she has to change our address stuff. So we'll see what happens. But she goes out to LA in 2 weeks.
Right around Magic Jump.
Right. I told her that, and she looked at me like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, my problem with all of Ohio's events is everything's on a Saturday, and as much as I would love to, Saturdays, if you switch your day off to any, because we all have a set schedule, we all have set days off. So if you switch your day to like any time in the week, nobody really cares as long as there's like proper coverage.
Yeah.
But if you switch, because like my day off is Friday, so if I switch my Friday and Saturday, you better have a good reason.
I tell you what though, you should make sure they know that their events team, because I know at least a lot of the times, like they'll get an event and they're like, well, we can't get anyone on a Friday, and some of these smaller venues, man, you get to be, free comic book day. You want to think about that though. Like that's the first Saturday of May. So that's always, at least around here, that's always a good day because there's always a bunch of events. I've been trying for years to do like a comic book store crawl. Like if I tried years ago and they didn't listen to me. Like if there's like 30 comic book stores in our area, stagger when our troop is, and then have our guys start at like 7 in the morning and try to go to as many as possible. Just just for something different.
Well, one of the
And
things I'm learning is it takes a lot of effort and energy to get folks to be willing to do something that has never been done before. Oh no, we're used to going to this convention and standing on cement floors for 4 hours at a time, and we're going to keep doing that.
Yep.
That thing that you're talking about, I don't. Yeah, I can't picture it in my head, so yeah, I'm not going to do that, or I'm gonna get my other 10 people in the group to also agree with me that we're not going to do that.
Yeah, we did. I remember we did what was it? A dog walk and we couldn't get people to do it. So Marty and I did it because they were all at a convention. They were at Oaks convention. They were like, nah, we already said we were like, okay. And I like the little ones, honestly. Like I think it was my second or third troop was Toys R Us toy release of the Clone Wars toys from the movie. And I thought Toys R Us treated us like garbage, to be honest with you. Like they let us change, but they had a case of water, and then we trooped, and then they were like, okay, well, we got to close. Like, you know what I mean? Like just, and then my next troop after that was a halfway house for people with mental disabilities, help them train into life skills stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just trying to raise money. They was just, like they were like on a shoestring budget, and we trooped that, and they couldn't have been, I don't think you could have thanked us as much as any more than they thanked us. They had food for us, and we were like, you don't have to, and it's just like, I'm always happy because we used to do Reed's Day. Have you ever done Reed's Day at like Barnes and Noble?
I've heard of it. Star Wars Reed's Day in October.
Yeah, and there again, they're hit or miss too. Like I mean that's a big company, and I don't expect anything from any of these people, but like give us a changing room,
Well, I think what happens with some of those events, those nationwide events, especially when you factor in the nationwide companies, they get this memo from from up on top that says, okay, we got to do this event, and that gets tasked to somebody to organize.
Yeah.
And oftentimes the person who has to organize it has no understanding of what it means to be in costume, has no understanding of what this event is all about. They've just been told that they're the point person on it. Whereas something like the halfway house that you were talking about, or the that organization, they're thoughtful about it. They have to consider all of the details because it is new, it is different, and they're the only ones that are responsible for it.
Yeah, and that's why I've always liked library events. I mean, I don't like how some of them are run because they get boring, but the librarians always seem very, very happy that we're there. I've done more of those little events, and the comic book store events I always like because that's one of the few last bastion of mom and pop stores left, is comic book stores.
Well, one of the challenges for me related to events is, at least with the Mercs, most of our New Jersey Mercs are about an hour and a half or 2 hours north. So they're closer to New York City. And so either they don't have a lot of people up there that want to do these kind of events, or we don't hear about them. And then down here where I am, because there aren't many of us. In fact, I think I'm the only official Merc in this part of New Jersey that nobody around here asks for the Mercs to come. So we have this one museum it's south of me by about an hour. It's a naval museum, and they've invited us a couple times, and they're super. It's a great space. The people who run the museum and host the event are really nice and kind and so on. But it's it's not as frequent as some of those other kind of events. So I have to figure out a way of, as silly as this may sound, getting more events like that in this area to be able to troop at, because it can be a bit much to drive 2 hours, 2.5 hours one way to go to an event and so on.
It's weird because you never know what events are going to take off.
Yes.
Like we have a science museum in Lancaster. It's a nice little event, but it has terrible parking, almost nowhere to change. It's really a tight fit, and we get more people to that than I've ever seen. Like if you ever see some of those pictures I pushed of all the girls in the Mercs sitting at a counter, and then there's some of them dancing, and like I think we had like 30 people at this event one time, and there's no rhyme or reason why. It just tickles people to do it or something, you know.
Yeah. One of the things I'd like to see, I mentioned it, I think in our last time that we got together, all three of us, I'd mentioned I'd picked up a small leadership role in the New Jersey Mandalorians. And so part of this role is to be involved in the organizing of the event. So talking to the promoter, talking to the requester of the costume Star Wars folks. And if things go the way I think it's meant to go, I'm supposed to interact with a similar role in the other costuming clubs. So reaching out to the Rebel Legion, reaching out to Saber Guild, reaching out to the 501st, and seeing what kind of events they have that are already organized or already set up, so that we can participate with them. And
now, I was going to say, who's your 501st in Jersey? Is that?
It is the Northeast Remnant.
Northeast Remnant. Okay.
I've done a couple events with them, and they're pretty nice. And then the Rebel Legion is Devronian Base. I think that's what they're called.
Okay.
See, that's what I like about Ohio, because we don't have we all have our separate forums. So there's the Mandalorian there's the Rancor clan, there's the Apollo base, and then there's the Ohio Garrison. But all of our events are on one forum. So pretty much any event that any of the groups are invited to,
that's nice.
all of the different groups are able to sign up and go. It's ohiostarwars.com, and then we've got a calendar and a forum, and obviously there's links to all of the different specialty forums, but all of the events are in one place.
That's nice.
Yeah, see, that's what we'd have to figure out how to organize it. And unfortunately, and I mean no disrespect to the other groups in this area or the individuals in this area, but historically we haven't necessarily had the strongest working relationships with them. You know, in fact, for a while the Mercs were kind of, brushed aside as less than the other costuming groups. So if you weren't in the 501st, you were no thing. You weren't even worthy of being in the same aisle as us. And we've started to build these relationships with the individuals in the group, and beyond the costumes, so that they understand that we're just as invested in creating these things and sharing these things as you are in your TK or you in your generic Jedi. So hopefully in this role, I will help build some stronger connections so that we can do more events as a single group, even though we represent, different aspects of the costuming fandom.
Yeah, I think sometimes the different garrisons, and I don't think at the Legion level, well, I can't speak for the Legion level, but I think some of these costuming groups forget that most of the groups now are at par with each other. I think the 501st had a head start, but it didn't. I mean, and the Mando Mercs I think the Mando Mercs kind of snuck up on everybody, and then when the Mandalorian hit, they're like, wait, we need Mandos now.
Yeah.
Well, Ken, now that you're in this kind of position, definitely I would bring up, hey, look at, the Ohio forum.
What's
I
it
like
called
that.
again?
That's a good idea.
It's literally just OhioStarWars.com.
I would think that would make it easier for everybody because, like on ours, our events person then has to be contacted by Rebel Legion, and then they have to post it up. Hey, we got this invite from Rebel Legion, and
Well, what's worse for us, I don't know if this is just the way that some people practice it, or some people have been told to practice it, but I've been told historically that if I, as a merc, a New Jersey merc, want to find out about events that the 501st is going to, or that the Rebel Legions are going to, I have to register to those forums and then be included into that local group. So join that local group, even though I'm not really. So I don't have a TK. I don't have it right now in this moment. I don't have aspirations of making one, but I have to join that group so that I can find out about them and then communicate back to our group that they're doing. And you got to go to.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that seems like such a. That's how it is, I think, because I know with ours, they used to let certain people on with limited access, like you couldn't access the like important stuff, but you could access the events. To me, that just seems like a nightmare for the person doing the organization. And what the groups have to remember is the people having the event don't give a shit. They just want Star Wars people there. And
Yes.
whatever
Yes.
costume you have, I don't care what it is, it looks better with more Star Wars.
Well, I think part of it too, for a while, what was happening is, so the promoters of the event would give out X number of passes.
Yeah.
And so the original point of contact. So let's say the group reached out to the Rebel Legion because they wanted the good guys there. They'd say, "Okay, Rebel Legion, we're going to give you 15 passes for the weekend." So they would pounce on these passes like Smaug on gold, and not tell the other groups about it because they didn't want those other groups to get the passes, because those other groups hadn't been interacted with by the promoter of the event.
Yeah.
So it's like all this weird political stuff. And also, to your point, Mike, forgetting that at the end of the day, the folks coming through the doors just want to see Star Wars people.
Yep.
And they're going to be excited to see the generic Jedi standing next to the generic TK next to the rando Mando, but they'll look better when there is the generic rando Mando and the TK and the generic Jedi than just the Jedi standing in the corner by themselves with a glow stick.
Right. Well, and the more people you have, the more people that get pictures, the more, it's just, yeah. Well, that's good. That's a good way to start. I like that Ohio thought. It's funny because the Rebel Legion just split in half in Pennsylvania. So I don't know.
Yeah, here, I'll share this real fast so you can kind of see how it's set up.
Let me see.
Yeah, so the one thing that I really like up here: cooperation, camaraderie, and compassion. I think that's
Hello.
key right there.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can see like they've got all these different events that are, obviously birthdays speckle the whole calendar, but like this coming Saturday, we've got 3 different events, and this is only the northern, because Ohio is split up into 3 different sectors. We've got northern, central, and southern. So these are all just the northern events. But then you've also got the forum, which you've got the calendar, general discussion, tour of duty, and then the links to all the different costuming groups.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's nice.
So you can, this is literally the home page for Ohio Star Wars costuming.
That's nice.
So this particular thing doesn't pretend to be the place to go to get the costuming information. It links you to the actual place.
Yeah, so if you go, if I want to go to the 501st, the Ohio Garrison, click that link, and it'll eventually take you to the Ohio 501st page.
Nice.
Gotcha.
Same with the Apollo base and whatnot. It'll take you right to where you need to go for whatever forum you're looking for.
As bad as the 500, the the forums are getting so much nicer looking. As
Mhm.
bad as using forums are, they are at least much nicer looking.
Yeah, I haven't been on the other ones. I just know that the Mando ones has a lot to be desired.
I think it comes down to money, like because they always because it's a volunteer thing, and they have to go with the cheapest. You know,
Well,
I
it's
know.
interesting that you say it comes down to money, but at no point in time have I heard, at least with the Mandalorians, like, okay, we're a volunteer organization, and this is how much it costs for this forum. If we wanted to do something different, this is how much it would cost. So
yeah. See,
how?
we hear that more than you. As much as you not hearing it might seem odd, we hear it more. We hear time to donate this and donate that, and like so you know.
Yeah, I don't think it costs very much to get a more visually pleasing color palette. That's my biggest gripe with the.
Well, yeah. Well, like, we've gone through webmasters. I think sometimes, at least at our end, they try to do too many bells and whistles about stuff, and it always seems to go in cycles. Like you'll get one webmaster and they'll do all this fancy stuff, and then they get overwhelmed, and then it reverts back to just okay. It's just going to hold our info. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
Well, I guess it comes down to what we want it. What do we want this to be able to do, or how do we expect people to be able to use it? Because right now, if
yes.
you were to jump into the forums as a newbie, and I know I was a newbie on the Merch forums, in 2011. It was tough to figure it out, and even being involved as long as I am, it's still tough to figure it out.
I get confused. I get confused when they use too much military jargon. They'll be like, after mission something. I'm like, oh, okay, what's that mean again? Like they'll be like this. They'll be the rec hall. I'm like, what's that mean? Like, oh, that's for stuff that's not related to. I was like, oh, okay, So
Well, add to it, we in the Mercs forums, they have the Mandoa names for things,
oh Jesus,
you know.
I,
So it's not just the leader, but it's the Alarad.
yeah.
So you as Star Wars fans, you know what the Alarad is? Because now you do. It's
Well, that's better than when sometimes it does seem a little weird when we say our commanding officer and people look at you like, if they're out of the costuming group, they look at you like, well, what are you talking about?
yeah.
right.
He's our manager. But I don't know. That's a good place to stop it. Ohio is a good place to go and
Well, just so you guys are aware, this week the guys from the forces behind Star Wars are getting together to talk about the recap of the Obi-Wan Kenobi show.
oh, nice.
Is there anything that you guys would like to hear us explore, discuss, examine?
Oh, well, I'm just curious, like people's thoughts on a second season.
It's funny that you say that because do you remember Chuck from Florida?
Yeah, yeah.
So I asked him the same question, and he said the same thing. What are your thoughts on a possible season 2?
Yeah, nobody.
I would enjoy a second season, but I think like I don't know. I would rather see Ewan McGregor pop up in Andor as like a just a real quick, than I don't know. I just think there's so many more stories to tell. Like honestly, I take an Owen and Veru story with young Luke. I think before Obi-Wan.
Well, how do you know that they couldn't do that? Just like they did with Book of Boba Fett and had an entire episode with Din Djarin.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take it. I'm not going to second guess anything because they haven't let me down on anything yet. So
Well, obviously you haven't been reading the reviews of these shows.
yeah, well,
Damn it!
There are lots of people out there that are disappointed and let down.
yeah, ruined their childhood or what was it today? They were worried that Obi-Wan might not be heterosexual or something like that. I saw a bunch of those today.
Really, that's a new one.
Hold on.
Again, so he was a celibate monk surrounded by celibate men. I'd be more surprised if he was just heterosexual, to be totally honest with you. So what do I know? You know what I mean?
Well,
But-
what's funny is so it's a term that I had never heard before. Within the I've let me I recently heard of this term within the last year or so, and I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it's called shipping.
Yeah.
Okay,
I have
I
two
must-
daughters. I teach middle school, so I've heard of it many
Okay.
times.
I'm 23, so
Yeah, I must have. Let me hold on. Let me crawl out from under my rock for a second. But this idea of watching this a made up thing and putting two characters in a relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and so I heard that related to the sequel trilogy. So the relationship between Ray
Poe and Finn.
Poe and Finn, or Poe, Finn, and Rose.
Yeah.
The relationship with Ray and Ben.
Well, and that's like a. I don't really care what people do with any of that stuff, but I just don't want those people to become in 20 years the same people now that are bitching and moaning about things that didn't work out quite how they think it should work out. You know what I mean? It's almost like the same people that are upset with the older people that are not accepting some of the new stuff. I don't want them to be, because they've shipped a certain characters for so long that when it doesn't come out how they want it, then they're going to become the same people they're disliking right now.
Well, there have been. I heard of folks shipping Fennec and Boba.
Yeah.
I mean that goes without saying. Come on, it's obvious.
Well, but again, that's just.
But how about when you self ship, like Pelimato and her thing with the Jawa?
I don't think there's any shipping needed there.
I
think that already happened.
I think her character is one of those, and we've all met one of those people that just can't be quiet. Like, she doesn't like silence. You ever meet one of those people? Like,
Oh yeah,
and they don't like silence, and
or
she just,
they're. It's not that they don't like silence. It comes back to that they're socially awkward and they don't necessarily know how to deal with other folks. Heck, we go to these conventions. We've experienced those folks. Yeah. But what I will give the actress the credit that she deserves. She has the ability to say these Star Wars words in rapid fire succession without missing a beat, without missing a syllable, and have it make sense. When they were talking about rebuilding the Naboo starfighter, and she was talking about all the bits and bobs and parts and pieces, I was in awe of her delivery. Yeah, we need more characters and actors and actresses like that. That was overly impressive.
yeah.
And on that note, I guess our ship should set sail, and we'll catch up with each other next week.
Yeah.
Real quick. Before, and I'm not hoping another tangent spurs off this.
Okay.
Just wait for
it. Part 2 of 3 of the Beskar Bucket Jess series continues tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
So I hounded him enough to finally get him to go back and rewatch the original trilogy. So he's currently on Empire. So he said he's going to have it
firing
done
on all cylinders this week.
Yeah,
I know. I told him, like, after I got the 2 episodes up that we did, I was like, all right, I got to get back on some sort of regiment, and I don't want to have to do a solo episode again. So I told him, like, get on it.
Well, I'm still waiting for your dad's episode.
Yeah, my
don't
dad's
be like my daughter
PC.
and wait like 200 episodes before you have your old man on.
My dad's not exactly the most PC person, or okay.
Are you shitting me?
If you had to put it on Apple Podcasts, you'd have to put the explicit filter on.
Yeah, but you could just do some post-production, put some R2 beeps in there. True. That's true. You can be fine.
Or it might even be more fun. Put a Wookiee growl over it.
Yeah.
Oh, Sal's the one that cussed the most on Zoe's podcast, I think. And I miss him sometimes. So
Yeah. See, I swear like a sailor, but whenever I'm like recording or doing
I think
anything,
that
in
might
this
be the
room,
same way.
I don't know. Look, if it's just me and him, just like recording a conversation, I have no doubt that it would be an interesting experience, to say the least. But
Or contact Zoe again before she leaves. She can be on your show.
true. Yeah, I do. I want to do more with her. That was
Good.
There was a good back and forth we had.
Yeah. Well, she's been doing this for 7 years now. So.
Right. And I've been speaking for at least 20.
Yeah. So
I'll have to get together with each of you individually to get some suggestions on the rambling Star Wars fan. So Mike, I want to touch base with you about the building of a meaningful, useful website, and John getting some suggestions on putting the pieces together for fun, wacky TikToks. So I might need a TikTok tutorial and a website 101.
nice.
I don't know. Mike's got the 150,000 followers, so he might be the one you want to talk to on that one.
I don't know about that.
Well, he's got all the ins with the folks from Lucasfilm, the folks from 501st, the folks from
His family.
Yeah, his family.
Yeah.
All he has to do is say, "Hey, this is John Johnson's cousin. Follow me on TikTok."
Yeah. I gotta find that letter. I think it's in my one filing cabinet. I gotta find that letter.
Jesus Christ.
So, all right, guys.
Thanks.
I'm
It was
going to
great
end
talking
the
to you guys.
stream. Later, all.
See ya.